Turn the Wi-Fi off.
Yeah.
Turn your Wi-Fi off.
Everybody do that.
Have they ran
We are
fiber
live.
yet?
Everybody's getting their phones ready yet. No, not yet. Not yet. Well, I'll let all you guys get your adjustments going, and then I can. Are you ready? Are you good? Beazle, do I have your? That's right. That's right. Here we go. All right, get out of my camera way there. There we go.
Let's jam, big
There
boy.
we
Bring us
go.
in.
All right, guys, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night's Fish North Georgia's The Livewell, guys. We appreciate you tuning in to watch us tonight, or if you watch us later on YouTube. Again, we want to say thank you very much for doing that. Got a great episode for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the upcoming Shad Spawn and things that are going to be happening on our area lakes here in the next few weeks coming up. And if you got any questions, of course, we're going to answer those and try our best to explain with the experts that I have around me tonight what you can do and how you can approach this. Experts, the experts. What's up, Ron? Ron, we're glad you're feeling better. We're glad you're feeling better.
I want to catch a couple 2-pounders on Lanier.
There you go. Is that you? You're the guy right there. Guys, as always, hey, listen, this episode is brought to you by Rachel Collins with 400homes.com. If you're in the market, if you're buying or selling real estate right now, Rachel is the one for you. You guys need to contact her. What we like about Rachel, she's one of us. We like her. She's very personal, very professional, but she's one of us. She loves to fish. She loves the outdoors. She's really she's probably better than James, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she's the one that carries the weight in that.
I would say so.
He thinks so, like that. So Rachel is absolutely awesome. Guys, give her a call and tell her the guys at Fish North Georgia sent you. You can contact her at 770-310-0599, or you can email her at rachel@400homes.com. And for those that are watching, of course,
Morning to sponsor.
right there. There she is.
So you did a better job than I did.
No, it's all right.
Look at Speed's calling us schmucks.
Schmucks right there. So, but seriously, guys, we want to thank Rachel and 400homes.com for their support of the Livewell. But I wish we had some music to go with that. To everybody out there that's saying good evening to all of y'all. And we'll go.
Ryan is the BA.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, so Sheffield is in the house. That's right. And of course, Eric Beasley is in the house as always. We appreciate both of those. And our guest tonight, a lot of you guys know him, and if you don't, you need to get to know him, Mr. Jeff Nail. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. And check out, I did a podcast, a one-on-one podcast with him. It's on the page, or you can get it at iTunes and Spotify like that. You need to check it out. Great story with this gentleman and a lot of knowledge, and we're hoping he can shed some of that knowledge tonight. So any news I need to announce or anything like that before we just get talking fishing, Ryan? Anything?
I don't think so.
You think it's just good to go, huh?
I don't think so. Be ready for the information. Get your pens and notepads
Get your pens and your notepads ready. So, and your popcorn and all that stuff.
Why do we need popcorn?
I will say this. I'm gonna preface this conversation by Ryan and I did some fishing on Lanier. Today was not our best day we've ever had on Lanier. Not by far.
But
we weren't in China making Nikes.
Nope.
We were fishing.
But Danny got a first.
Hey, I did. I caught my first ever Seville bass today. I've never thrown one, never messed with it, and
don't have to. You know when the time is.
He said, I got one.
I did on my fourth. Brian goes, throw it right over there. So I did, and it didn't take long, but I did enjoy that. It's a pretty cool little bait, and I think I'll throw it more often.
It's good.
I think.
Yeah.
I know a lot of my buddies throw it. So
They're fighting over it.
I mean,
I got 15 or 20 of them at the house.
Sebilles?
The old school.
I mean,
the old school ones?
No one's ever caught a Lanier fish on a Seville
good ones.
before.
No, I know. See, I thought I was the first.
Yeah,
and I thought it was breaking.
I think
news
you
tonight.
are. I don't think anybody's caught one on Lanier before.
Somebody caught a bass on Lanier with a Seville.
Yep.
So I am behind. I am behind. So anyway,
We'll get a water popper fish soon.
that's going to be. Yeah, we actually got it on film today, but I don't know how much of
Joe
that
got
film we're
one
going to
this
show.
week.
I've never caught one.
Whopper plopper?
Original.
Yeah. He caught one on a
Whopper
whopper plopper.
That'll be the next trip we go.
That'll be May.
They're definitely they're schooling pretty good right now.
May.
You put one in front of their face, they should eat.
No, we're talking like
Like good.
throwing it going down somewhere. like going down a bank,
Oh,
throwing a
that's
water
fun.
popper.
That's fun.
Can I ask a question before we get started? Why are both of you like in your Barry White voice? Why are you talking so deep?
Huh?
Why, both of you are like talking like you're
I'm just
whispering.
trying to.
Throwing whopper poppers.
I mean, is that what you got? Is that how you got to talk when you're throwing a whopper popper?
Whopping and
Is it? It's
plopping.
sexy. That's what Paul said.
Well, you can't really hear
It is.
each other talk when you're throwing a water popper.
It's that loud.
I
Whatever.
can't do it.
Want to thank Paul for being behind the screen there doing the hard work. Thank you, Paul. And so what we're going to talk about tonight, the main topic is going to be the upcoming Shad Spawn again, of course, and how these guys like to approach it, what they're throwing. Again, if you got any questions, make sure you put them in the comment section so we can answer and hopefully give you the information that you're looking for. And then we will, of course, allow the conversation to dictate itself by your questions. We can go anywhere you guys want to go, but we're going to start off with the Shad Spawn. Now,
Shad or herring?
well, see, that's what I was getting ready to say. So there's basically four in North Georgia. You got the bluebacks, you got your threadfin, you got your gizzards, and then if you're on Carter's, you got your alewives or however they pronounce that, which are basically bluebacks cousins.
And they need to stay there.
And they need to stay there. What I didn't know, and I learned today, and just kind of looking at some facts and all that about bluebacks, I did not realize that they can survive in salt water and or fresh.
Oh my goodness.
They're
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I don't pay that much attention. I don't throw Seville, so you can tell I'm not.
Oh,
Them and
I mean,
skippers.
that Seville just connects you to those herring, I guess.
I guess so. So now I'm a herring
It
guy.
is. Yep, you are.
I'm gonna
They
You are.
run up the rivers out of the.
right. Yeah, and I
Tidal
was
rivers.
noticing in reading about the different states and stuff. When they're in salt water, they'll run up the freshwater to spawn, and they will run back down. I did notice today that a female blueback can lay between 60 to 103,000 eggs,
Ooh,
and they can get up to about 10 inches long, and they can live up to 10
they
years.
definitely can.
They can live up to 10 years. I did not know that. So
That's long, actually. That's way
actually,
long.
they can live up to 10 years, which I kind of thought was like, okay, that seems like a long time for a fish.
Well, it's not really a herring's not really a bait. I mean, we
No, Justin.
use them as bait fish,
Right.
But it's not.
but it's not really a bait fish.
Right.
It's actual fish.
It's actual fish. That's
Really?
right. That's right. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, it's
kidding,
not-
kidding.
It's got the tail and all that
Man,
stuff.
It's got all
Oh,
the
the
hardware.
actual-
The hardware.
actual. I guess really they were probably classified as schooling fish.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a forage fish
Or
too.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, humans actually
That's
eat them in some places.
that's what I was
too.
going to say. They can be smoked because they're basically come from the same family as sardines and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And in a lot of coastal communities,
Yeah.
catch bluebacks and
And they
they'll
get
smoke
big.
them. Well, if you get a 10-inch
They
fish,
get
yeah.
big.
I don't know. I'm gonna get some and try it.
No.
But
Would you eat one if I got it?
No.
You won't even eat sardines when I open them in the
Danny
shop.
eats mustard sardines.
I love mustard,
Oh, that's
hot sauce
nice.
sardines, anchovies.
nasty.
I'd rather eat hardtack.
I mean, what about you? You like sardines?
No.
Oh my goodness! I guess I'm one of a kind. Right here. They are a predator.
Yep.
They will feed on anything from zooplankton to small crustaceans to small fish. You know, they've just hatched. One of the big arguments around here for people not putting bluebacks in the lake is that they will devastate supposedly a fish population because they spawn a little bit later. Ain't no supposedly. They spawn a little bit later than your spots and your largemouth. And so by the time you get the shad spawn coming up, there's a lot of fry.
Yeah.
And especially on lakes that do not have grass, those fry do not have as much natural places to hide, and the bluebacks will just come in and just pound them. Now, of course, we're gonna hammer on bluebacks. We can get into the threadfin and the gizzards and all that stuff.
The terminology.
The
is
terminology.
The fry don't have a place to get.
The fry don't have a place to get.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
So
big does a blueback necessarily have to be to spawn?
I did see that they reach sexual maturity, the females do, in about 5 years.
All right. Wow.
Yep.
No way.
For a species
Promise you,
like
hey,
that.
that's on Wikipedia. Now, whether whoever put that on
That's
is
big.
wrong, but that's what that if you look it up,
Maybe.
it says 4 to 5 years for
Yeah.
sexual maturity for a female blueback heron.
Dang.
They're not a very fast growing fish.
I guess not. I've finally had one of the biggest herring I've ever had spit up in my boat just last Saturday in a tournament. It was on the board a little over 7 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just massive.
Now, I would imagine too. Now, take it again. Now, herring in the wild are in the salt water, and they move up into fresh water.
Yeah.
We humans have taken them from that and put
Yeah.
them into
Well, I mean,
lakes
it's a-
and stuff for that. So
I mean,
I don't
even
know
if they
those
went up
lake
and then you
fish.
just dam it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if the
Yeah.
lake fish that we're talking about can live up to 10 years. Maybe that's out in
Maybe,
the
yeah.
wild, out
or
in the
maybe
salt.
it was longer. I mean,
It could be. So, but regardless, we're going to start with the bluebacks and stuff like that because that is what a lot of the area anglers, especially on lakes like Lanier, I would say a lot of the highland reservoirs. I know people say Allatoona has it, but they don't have a population like these other lakes. So the herring spawn that's coming up is really going to be a big event, and I want you to tell everybody, Ryan, why. Go ahead. I just wanted to wake you up and get you involved early.
Because it's the Golden Corral.
It is,
Yeah.
that's it.
It's the most fast, furious, and physical form of fishing I think there is.
Okay.
Because it's literally you can't reel a bait fast enough. You can't work a bait fast enough.
I love that.
You can't cast fast enough.
That's
I mean,
so-
correct me if I'm wrong,
So
but I
much
mean,
fun.
if you got anything that you want to add to that, I mean,
I make
it's-
sure I don't have braid on my bait casters.
Yeah,
And that's why.
Because if you backlash it, you're
Backlash.
going to backlash it when you're
Yeah.
trying to heave it out and hit. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going for a bad day. So the mono you can usually get out pretty quick.
Gotcha.
You can get braid out pretty quick. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but when I rear back and let it rip, it's a bad day on the braid.
Okay. All right. So let's talk first about timing. Timing on the shad spawn for blue blacks, and let's just say use Lake Lanier as an example. That's the lake we know the most. So when does it normally happen?
Usually around 65 degrees,
Okay.
but not. From what I've seen, it's not 65 degrees at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you get a cold front and it drops back down into the low 60s, upper 50s. Like 65 degrees averaged over the entire course of a 24-hour period
throughout the water column.
throughout the water, or at least within that water column where they're going to
Right.
spawn. So, I mean, it's people. You got to be careful when you go out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a bright, sunny day, and it's I found some 65-degree water. You found some 65-degree water in one spot, but it's dropping to 38 degrees tonight. It ain't gonna be 65 for
Right.
long.
So you're
59
looking
by the morning.
you're looking for consistent warmer
Yeah.
water right there, which is one of the things that we have not got so far this year on Lanier. It's kind of been up and down, up and down, up and down. One thing that I did notice was in watching and reading the page and stuff like that, some people say they're seeing it already. But today when we went out, we really did not see any evidence of it first thing this morning.
Mm-mm.
In some of the places, and we won't give the places, but some of the places that you've said, it happens here
Well, I
every
mean, it's like
year.
when we put in, I told you, I said, there's people running around here claiming that there's herring already trying to spawn. I said, well, we're going to go look for one for about an hour and a half. I said, buckle up.
Yeah, and we ran.
And we caught one fish doing that specifically. You did.
I did,
matter of
but
fact.
I don't even think that fish could have just been there,
I mean, it could have been.
because if there was a spawn going on, he should have had some others with him.
When you find a true herring spawn going on, there's no like one or two fish.
Right.
There's no telling how many fish are up there.
That's so
And a dead giveaway, in my experience, and I certainly don't write the book on this, but this is my experience on it. A dead giveaway of where you go up someplace and you say, I think the herring might be up there spawning. A dead giveaway is one of the fish that you catch, if not the first bite that you get, is Mr. Carp in the tuxedo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the striper up there.
Because if they're up there,
too.
if they're up there, they're up there. But they're up there for a reason. And they're up there because the herring are spawning. And then a lot of a dead giveaway too is sometimes, especially like on real shallow areas, like on blow-throughs. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, trying to keep it a secret.
They get on
Blow-throughs.
blow-throughs during the herring spawn?
Sometimes you come up there, especially when it's really hitting.
Crazy.
Like it'll look up there and it'll be, there's not a cloud in the sky. It's 6:30. And yet you look up there and it looks like rain.
I love that.
That's a dead giveaway.
Okay.
That's like the herring are
And
spawning.
they will also the fish. I mean, I've caught fish on blow-throughs this week.
Yeah.
I've caught them on it last week,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not crushing
Mm-mm.
baits. I mean, they're nipping at some stuff. I mean, I'm having to slow down with
Yes,
to
yeah.
get them with a Kitech, and I caught some on a Seville yesterday, but even with this, they're not crushing it like they do when it's full blown spawning.
When you find
catch
a
like
herring-
3 fish on a spinner bait, and you're like, well, that one's done. Next,
Yeah, when
'Cause
you
it's just
find a
destroyed.
herring spawn, there's like
That's
you
like-
got one cast, and they'll tell you. If they're there.
yeah, I mean, and
It literally
it's not
one
like they
cat.
come up and slap at it a couple of times. I mean, it's
Well, that's
Better hang
interesting. You
on.
said
No,
that
it's like
because
if the first one misses it, the second one's doing everything it can in its power to eat the bait.
the one I caught today, my Seville has a feathered
Mhm.
trailer, and I caught it on the tip end of that thing.
yeah,
So
it's just nipping at it.
just
Just
nipping
nip
at
at
it.
it.
So that was just a fish up there. Hey, here comes. It's just there. I'm going to attack it. But
Yeah,
he
I
did
mean,
not crush it.
The fish are probably, I mean, they are programmed to look in certain areas for bait. I mean, they've
Mhm.
developed that way since the herring have been in there, so they know that it's coming. Or,
Mhm.
you know, but there's also other things. You've got wind pushing. Bait fish are getting higher in the water column, so they're becoming more effective. When I say bait fish, I'm talking about the gizzards and the threadfin and everything else.
Everything, yeah.
So they're becoming more affected by wind. They're getting pushed up. They're getting higher in the water column because they're trying to get warm too, because they've been, stuck down in the deep all winter and they want some sunshine also. And well, I mean, get higher in the water column, you end up in
Right.
blow throughs and points.
Yeah. I mean,
So, I mean, the fish are moving in that direction anyway.
like you were saying, I mean, they can be there and not
Yeah.
spawning. I mean, fish can be on the bank and not be spawning.
And there's
And
been
Right,
bass
okay, I got
under,
what you're saying.
under boat docks for 3 months now.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
They weren't
Right.
spawning in January.
Right.
That's true.
And this goes back to the thing too about any herring lake, whether it's Murray, Hartwell, Clark Hill, Russell, Lanier, doesn't matter. There is a population that it doesn't matter if it's January, July, December, November, full moon, new moon, rain, wind, sleet, snow, sun. There's a population of fish on every single one of these lakes that their exclusive way that they live revolves around following bluebacks
Absolutely.
because they've tasted it and they've decided I'm
Yeah.
not tasting it. I'm not I
explains-
ain't doing anything
That
else.
explains why today I had fish blowing up, busting out over 50, 60 feet of water in the middle of ditches.
Right.
And I'm like, what in the chasing? And I don't mean little ones either. I mean, there were some giant ones doing it, but it was, I mean, there was no chasing those fish down. I mean, because they
No.
were, but you'd see them blowing up and you're like, what are they doing over 50, 60 feet of water in a ditch just hanging out?
And those herring, of course, or whatever they're chasing out there, they're not spawning. They're just out there. And so they're following
right.
that ball of bait
They're
around.
following bait around 60 feet of water, and
Mhm.
40, 50, however deep it is. And they're up there in the surface. And you're like, I mean, I'd love to go catch you, but by the time I troll a motor over there to you, you're going to be
They're-
5
they're
foot.
down.
They're down or gone over somewhere around the corner. I mean, who knows where they're at?
And,
Yeah.
and we all know, all of us sitting here, a bass by nature, no matter what species it is by nature a structure orientated fish.
Yeah.
That's what his life revolves around.
They're an ambush predator.
Right. And their structure is bluebacks. That's
Yeah.
literally what their structure is blueback herring.
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, would you agree or disagree with that?
No, I think there's some that just follow it.
Yeah.
That they have adapted to the herring,
Mhm.
so they've evolved, and
Right.
they literally just follow the herring.
And one thing about bluebacks is they're incredibly fast.
Yeah.
So those fish, I mean, I guess they have to, or they're expending
Mhm.
so much energy. They just have to keep
Yeah.
eating, keep eating, keep eating.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
all
the
that.
bass doesn't need structure to survive once it gets older. It uses structure to help feed.
Mhm.
And if they can literally hang out in the shadows or to stay cool in the summer, so to speak.
Right.
But if they can hang out under the shadows and just go up and eat when they want to eat. Yeah. I mean, that's why brush pile fishing is so good. They sit in the brush and wait for a school of herring to come over.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. There's a dinner. I'm going back here and going back to bed.
I like what you said.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense.
Because like I was saying, and what Brandon Cobb talks about a lot is a lot of times the spotted bass will be there and those will be inactive. I mean, they'll be sitting there like during the herring spawn. I mean, you'll see fish just sitting up there, no herring, not eating, and they're all just sitting in 2 feet of water, and you can just see them, and they're not doing anything. They're inactive, and once that herring comes through, I mean, it's right on it. So I think a lot of times the fish are just sitting there, and once herring comes by, they'll get it. That's why it seems like they're kind of always following it. And there are fish that do always follow it. But I really think like once a herring go over that point of interest, the fish just perk up and then you
Fish
just
are on.
catch them.
And we are still talking about herring right now that aren't spawning. We're just talking about
Yeah,
herring
in
that are-
general.
in general that are basically moving around.
which they always do.
Which they do.
Gosh.
Which they do. Yes, chasing them in an electric rig is really tough. Very tough. I know Latham,
Yes.
smaller reservoir. has
Derek,
it.
did you get your motor fixed?
Somebody put bluebacks in Latham and the spots blew up. But here's an interesting thing. When we're talking about these fish that are chasing and following these schools, we think spotted bass. In Latham,
Large.
you will find largemouth
Clarksville.
that are
Clark Hill's the same way, and so
Yeah.
is Hartwell.
yeah.
Yep.
You will find largemouth that have adapted, so to speak. I mean, you still have your lazy ones that sit on, your regular, but you will throw into those schools, and you have a very good chance of catching a pretty decent largemouth
The
in with the spots.
Savannah River lakes are the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's
it's very interesting because that's not a largemouth's nature,
fish adapt.
and they well, and if you got the buffet going around, hey, that's where I can eat. That's where I'm going to go. When the bluebacks finally reach, when that water temperature reaches that magical number, whatever it is, you say 65 right about,
65, 68.
65, 68. Tell everybody what we're looking at. Where are the bluebacks going to go to spawn? Because I've heard they spawn on everything, but where are the major places that you want to look at to start?
I found them, or generally find them, shallow,
Mm-hmm.
sandy with current.
Mhm.
Okay. Is
Shallow,
is
sandy
current
current.
important?
It is for a blueback to spawn.
Okay. So they're going to follow that current, and is that why blow throughs and stuff are so?
There's always current. As long as there's some wind, there's current
Mhm.
on any sort of a blow through or a point or something of that nature. So
And that would also explain bridge piling, stuff like that, because there's current always going
there's
through
current
there.
going through there.
How long does the spawn generally last?
I mean, I've really about a month is the most. A couple of weeks once it really gets kicked up. I mean, as far as the herring spawn goes, then you start getting into the shad that are after that, and some of them will spawn in the similar areas. So it's,
Right.
it's kind of a flip. Are they chasing herring or are they chasing shad? You don't know till they start spitting it up in your boat, and you're like, oh, they're eating X today or they're eating Y today.
Right.
But like your bridge pilings, a lot of that's shad.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Bridge pilings, shad spawns a lot on bridge concrete. That's why seawalls are so good. Retaining walls, bridge pilings, anything vertical and hard. Floats,
Will
boat
attract.
floats.
Yeah, will attract the shad. Now, are you talking about like threadfin and gizzard, or
Mhm.
just threadfin? I mean,
Generally threadfin, but I mean the gizzards I think will go there sometimes too.
okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean your shad spawn is a lot of times on the bluff walls, on lakes with bluff walls. They'll get on the sides of that too.
So can you so if you see something blowing up around a bridge piling or something like that, you in your mind can you automatically deduct it's more than likely threadfin.
If it is in the month of, I'd say from now through early June, then yeah, I'm like.
So the
they're
threadfin go
shad.
longer.
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, it's not all fish spawn at the
Right,
same time. I mean,
right.
just like there's fish that spawned a month and a half ago on here that, I mean, their fry may not have lived, but they did their thing and they went out. I mean, it's not a lot, but there's some. I mean, there's
Mhm.
nothing ever happens all at one time.
Right.
So,
That makes sense. We've seen a lot of empty beds,
mhm.
today, stuff like that. Let's see, what depth range? And I'm going to assume that you said the bluebacks are going to be shallow. Threadfin. Let's say you come up to a bridge piling, because a lot of these,
I've
like
caught
that.
them on bridge pilings that sat in as shallow as 3 feet of water.
Yeah.
And I've caught them on bridge pilings as deep as like 60 feet of water.
101.
Will the fish come up though
Yeah,
to
they
the top?
just-
They're going to be on the
absolutely.
surface.
Yeah, they'll
I mean,
just
you-
come up.
What do you think if they're spawning? They're probably.
Yeah, they're going to be in the.
Yeah.
They're going to be in the upper.
They got
Say
light.
5 to 7 feet,
light
depending on
penetration.
clarity.
Okay.
Depending on how clear the water is, the less clear the water is, the shallower they're going to be. The clearer the water is, the deeper they're going to be.
Okay. Well, yeah. And apparently, when we get back to with the bluebacks, and I guess this might go with the threadfin, they come up in massive groups to do it. Is that something that you've seen? Because if the spots are there, they're not going to go up there for just a few blueback. There's got to be a school. Does a school do it all at once, like a particular school, or how does that work?
I found them in schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, they're a schooling fish. I'm about the threadfin or the
I'm talking about bluebacks.
bluebacks. Yeah, no, I mean they're in schools. I mean, bluebacks are in schools. They stay in schools. That's their safety mechanism for survival, is to be in a
Right.
school. They don't break up like largemouth. And
I know
other
last
stuff.
year I found one that lasted about 2 weeks. they did their thing and they stayed up there for a little while. There had to have been millions.
Really?
Big school.
There had to have been.
I mean, I found
Because
it
I
like
mean,
a 200
this
yard
was
stretch.
This was over 100-yard stretch of bank.
Yes.
That's wild.
There's not thousands up there when it's that long.
I was talking to a guy today, and I bet it was a quarter mile that we were talking about an area, and bluebacks will spawn on that entire area.
Quarter mile
Probably
stretch.
a quarter mile, if not longer stretch.
awesome.
Okay,
That's
let's
so cool.
let's get to a couple of questions. We'll start off with Matthew
I'm not going to
Smith.
say where it is because
Oh, absolutely. I understand
there's
that.
only a handful of places on the lake that
That's right.
meet that description.
How much time do you spend at a location while looking for the heron spawn? You want me to answer that question?
Not very.
What'd you learn today?
Run and gun, baby. Run and gun. Not as long as we would if we were fishing an electric rig. That's how I'll answer that question. But typically, typically.
How many casts did I tell you today? I typically give it
we talk so much, but I'm gonna say 3.
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
It's like 5.
3 to 5, and that's it.
And,
So,
and they're not going to be they're going to be in, like, they're going to be 10 yards apart. They're not going to be the exact same thing.
Right.
yeah, we kind of fan casted
noticed
that.
that.
Yeah, I did notice that. We fan casted
I
that.
mean, I'm going to fan cast and cover the area, but I'm not going to sit there and like make the same cast multiple times waiting on them
Okay.
until
all
I
right.
get bit. Now, if I get bit, that's a different story. Then
Do
I'll
you-
stay there a little longer.
Do you think they're like sweet spots on some of these like blow throughs and things?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's one thing I think
and then once
about.
you find that,
it's good.
then
Yeah.
you spot lock the boat and keep making the exact same cast.
Because I've subconsciously kind of, I guess, I don't know what makes a sweet spot on. I guess if there's like a little ditch or channel running into it or a little ledge or something. But I mean, I've kind of noticed that too.
That if they're in there,
Like
you'll
there,
catch 'em in that
there's like
spot
yeah,
more
there's
than
one
will
spot
fan
and you can
cast.
do
Should I
it.
say or not?
Oh, I'm about to learn something.
What the hell? the way I like to do it is on a blow through. I want to start on the deeper side and throw up to the shallower side.
Yeah.
Typically, because if they're now, it don't always happen, but if you can find the spots are on the deeper side of the back, like I would say, like the back side or the front side of a blow through. I don't know, how would you say that? Probably the back side of a blow through, I guess. If they're on the back side of a blow through, though, they're sitting down there and they're in deeper water because they're waiting on the heron to make a wrong move, and then they're going to come up there and bun rush them.
The other thing to look at is the wind direction.
Yeah,
Position the boat nose into the wind and
Nose
cast
into the wind.
into the wind,
Yes.
Absolutely.
and that will position the fish.
because that's typically the way that the herring are actually moving is the
Yeah.
way that the wind's coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're not fighting the wind.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to
And
me.
plus, it's easier to kind of sit there. You're not getting blown onto your spot as much.
Well, it makes sense. So Brian wants to know. I guess this is going back to when we were talking about bridge piling stuff like that. So they don't need a bottom, basically.
No.
And we're talking more the thread fin on this, or is that thread fin don't necessarily need a bottom? Bluebacks,
I'm pretty sure they lay theirs on the bottom,
bluebacks.
They
Are,
shake.
See.
They basically sit here and do this,
and they
and then their eggs
Yeah.
come down like that.
See,
my wife asked me last night how to fish. I was trying to explain bed fishing to her, and she honestly wanted. She goes, "How do they do what they do?" And I said, "Well, it's like the male builds a bed." The female kind of checks it out, says, "Yeah, I kind of like that." They do a little rolling and courting. She does her thing, and she's gone back to eating. And he has to sit there and guard everything. I mean, was that a pretty good explanation
Pretty
for
much.
pretty much?
Pretty
I
good
thought it was a pretty good
explanation.
elementary explanation.
For someone like her, yes.
Today, listen, my wife's got like, listen. No, Paul, listen.
If you're watching, we
Paul,
love you.
no, listen to this story. So I'm in an electric rig. Everybody knows I fish mostly electric only. We got Life 360 for the family. So on hers at Ping, Danny completed a mile at drive at 66 miles an hour. And she called me up and she was like, "Who the hell's driving your boat?" And I said, "What do you mean?" You know, I said, you know, because she knows my boat. For some reason, I said, "My boat goes 7 miles an hour. We're in Ryan's boat today like this. Y'all need to slow down." You know, so Dylan Johnson, since y'all were just talking about Hollis Q Reservoir, how is the fishing there? You know, I don't know. I have not actually bass fished Hollis. It's in my front yard, and I don't know why it's the last lake I fished.
Good.
I know. I think I might go over there. I will say that the hours have changed now. That they're on summertime hours now. They're open till 8.
Go there and throw a 3-3 Kitech 8 feet down.
I will say that year round on Latham, you can throw a 3-3 or a 2-8 Kitech in white or natural colors, and you can catch a fish. But I have not been over there to check to see if they're on bed or stuff like that. I'm sure others can chime in. Maybe
Sure
they have.
are.
I will say this: I've seen a lot of bass on Holoso in the past. Late May still be on bed. Late May, early June.
Largemouth and spots will spawn all the way up through June.
Yeah,
They will this year. I guarantee it.
It's
all
all
because the weather's been really messed up.
it's all their personal. What's the word I'm looking for?
Preference.
Personal preference, I guess.
There you go.
They got
Was that related to like how many calories they put on and whatnot? Like, do they have to kind of eat their way?
I'm no biologist.
Yeah,
so
I don't know the
question.
answer. I don't really have any.
Paul asked if that had to
can't
do with
talk
their
about that
calories or not. So if anybody
Jeff,
didn't hear
Little
him.
Joe just ate 17 tacos. You need to take that. You'll see them you need to take the belt with you.
Yeah,
We have to give you the belt, so like that.
Little rascal.
What's up, Tracy Coker and Doug Phillips? How you guys doing tonight? Again, you guys keep the questions coming because I'm actually learning as you are tonight about this. So, all right, let's start. Go back to the bluebacks. We've gone to a blow through. We've established that there is. Okay, let me rephrase this. Is there a particular search bait that you like to throw first thing if you think there's a shad spawn going on?
I know what Ryan's is.
What?
Yours is a spinnerbait.
Exactly.
And you feel them pecking the. I will throw us. That's probably the one time of the year that I will throw a spinnerbait a good bit is when I know they're getting up, and because they will absolutely annihilate it.
If you throw spinnerbait up there and they start reeling in after about 10 reels, it goes like that.
It's banging into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really. I wouldn't say there's one thing you have to. I mean,
No.
find something that you're comfortable with, that you have confidence in, and let it rip. Give it 5 to 7 casts per little, and then off to the next one.
Okay, now moving baits as opposed to something like
Yeah,
that.
you want something that's where you want to get up there, figure out to there, and then get gone.
Okay,
Because when it's happening somewhere. You just got to find.
Did you take note of how fast I was reeling my spinnerbait this morning?
I did faster than you have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed. I paid
Faster
attention.
than
I didn't know if you did.
I paid attention.
I didn't make no comment about it. I just
I try to absorb all this stuff anytime I'm out with anybody.
because I was like this.
And he likes to. Normally though,
Yeah.
when it starts warming, you start throwing your spinnerbait, especially around dock. You like to slow roll a little bit more. You like to keep it down just enough to where you can see the tick and stuff like that.
Well, that's just the bite and the pre-spawn stage. Yeah.
But today you had it higher.
Yeah.
You also
Almost wake it.
Yeah, I mean,
almost very. Yeah, it was very close.
when they're on a blueback bite. I mean, you can you want the blades almost blowing out of the water every few turns.
Now, do you stick with the spinnerbait, or do you just use? So you search with the spinnerbait.
And the thing is like you may catch a couple on a spinnerbait, then put that down and pick up something else, and they'll hit that, and then they'll stop hitting that, and you put that down and pick up something else, and they'll hit that. I mean, I may have 3 or 4 baits on the deck and just cycle through all 4.
I try not to catch them on a spinnerbait. I try to let the spinnerbait tell me if they're up there or not.
Then put something with more hooks with a higher hookup ratio.
That's
A chug bug.
what I was thinking.
A chug bug. That's my favorite.
chug bug, popper.
Would you guys prefer treble hook baits? I would think, especially if they're more slapping at it.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll have 2 on.
True. All right.
Sometimes you'll have one front hook, one on the back hook. And one thing that always gets brought up here, stuff like that that's probably overlooked, but it gets talked about is a donkey rig.
Oh heck
I've
yeah.
caught them on donkey rigs.
Oh heck yeah.
Explain for somebody who does not know what a donkey rig, what it is.
Can you give a better explanation of it than I can?
Yeah,
Two
it's a
flukes.
double fluke rig.
Yeah.
So essentially,
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about.
yeah, I mean, it's a instead of you'll have slid. If you run a fluke rig with a swivel above your main fluke,
Mm-hmm.
you take a second swivel and route the line through it so that it can slide, and then you put a little leader on it and tie another fluke on. So you have 2 flukes that are offset, 6 or 8 inches. It can be great. It can be a pain in the butt too.
Yeah.
Why do they call it a donkey rig?
Who in the heck
Because
knows?
it's a donkey
I
rig.
guess it looks like a donkey's tail when it's going through the water because the flukes are going like.
That's as good as anything.
There you go.
If you could only throw one bait on a herring spawn, Randall Perry would like to know.
That's rough.
Beasley.
That's rough.
Yeah, Beasley, how about you?
I don't know. I don't fish for herring fish.
Shut up, man. This show is all about information.
Okay. For fun, top water because you just get to and then, and then you catch them.
What top water?
I don't know. One
How
that,
about you give me some
One-
examples?
one that goes back and forth.
We don't need your juice, but you don't have to give everybody.
I mean,
juice.
literally, like,
There's no juice.
it doesn't
in terms of
matter.
herring spawn.
You literally just reel something fast
So
or
you're not-
make it
you're
go.
not- You ain't got no secret. Bait.
I don't have no secret anything. It doesn't matter. I mean, literally, like you just reel fast.
Which goes to what Matthew Smith right there is saying with the question mark: top water for herring spawn.
Half the time, top water, you can literally just reel top water. It doesn't matter. They see something moving, they just go.
They're just reacting to
Choke
the,
bug's hard to beat.
Yeah,
Really? I'll
whatever
throw
you're
choke bug very
throwing,
much.
even if you're throwing a non quote unquote topwater bait, you're gonna have it in the first 6 inches of the water.
Yeah, seriously.
So the big thing is keep it high.
Keep it
We're keeping
very
it high.
and even like I said, if you're throwing a spinner bait or even a Seville, you can blow it out of the water every now and then too.
What about a swim jig?
Why not?
Is this a good time of year for a swim jig?
It'll work.
I feel like it's just harder to
I just
hook
don't.
up.
I just don't like on those places when I know a herring spawn's going on. I don't love single hook things.
Really?
I've caught too much. I've caught too many.
You got a better.
Holy
chance of
crap! There's two on. You know, like he's got
Wow.
one on the front hook, one on the back hook.
Really?
You know, I mean, it's just they'll fight over it.
That's really cool.
Now, I would say the downside to a swim jig is it doesn't have the flash, the rattle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's more of a finesse, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't say finesse. It's not subtle approach.
Mhm.
Whereas all the other stuff we're talking about, it's making noise
Loud.
and racket and
Yeah.
loud and
Yeah.
So you're
commotion.
trying. You're trying to get that fish. Oh, I hear that. I see that.
Yeah.
right, and not necessarily looking up, but looking out,
Yeah.
and they're coming from the sides too.
So they're still in ambush mode,
Oh, yeah.
basically.
I
their
would.
attention.
I would say if you have a swim jig, just cut that weed guard off. There's absolutely no reason you would need a weed guard. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, like,
What do you think about that tip right there?
I'll never cut my weed guards off.
I feel
if
like.
you, but I
I
mean,
set the hook like a man.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Set the hook like
Oh,
a man and
man.
all that. So, strangest place you've ever seen a herring spawn or any spawn?
Yeah. Last year.
I've seen them on the propellers of boats.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Like sitting at a dock or something like that?
Yeah.
Really?
Hey, that would warm up the
I've
eggs.
seen the shad spawning on rope propellers on boats that sat there forever.
Last year I found them on a nothing bank, but that bank had some of that snot grass that's growing.
Oh, I hate
This
that
was-
stuff.
And this
I
was
know
on
it.
the lower end of the
It's
lake.
getting bad.
But they had that.
Yeah.
There's a big old, like you looked up there and you could see it running the snot grass about 8 feet of water down, 8 feet down.
Really?
And the herring were actually up there spawning on that.
Which doesn't normally make sense
Well, I mean, it's yeah.
because you said
Stupid.
normally you're looking for sandy,
Yeah.
kind of open stuff like that.
But they were there.
Man, I hate snodgrass.
They were there. It was-
Latham's got it too. I can't stand it.
Because you'll be thrown up there, you'll be like, oh, they got to be here, and then it just
I
gets
think we
heavy,
will.
and you're like, oh, dang
Yeah.
it.
I think we will touch on that later too, towards the end of the show.
Snodgrass?
Well, conversation me and Jeff had the other day, talking about how bad it's getting
Okay. Yeah,
below,
It's everywhere.
below Browns Bridge.
we can cover that.
It's like the
Really?
further down you go, the more you see.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah,
fish
we
down there, so that's my
definitely will cover
problem.
that.
And the clearer the water, the more of it.
On a herring spawn
Hate
with
it.
something like a smaller sized wake bait.
Yeah,
I've caught them
for
on,
sure.
I've caught them on the small weight baits.
For sure.
Sure
Now,
have.
Wake baits in general.
now, do you downsize to start or you go big to start?
It literally doesn't matter.
Paul says big.
What can you hook them on the best, and you think you can catch a bigger fish? I use little things. I've used big things.
It would
Doesn't
not
matter.
surprise me. That being said, it would not surprise me with the way these fish have been as far as eating smaller baits that this year they want smaller ones as far as that.
Because it's been kind of odd this year.
It's just been like all winter.
You think?
They never really, the 3.3 never dominated. It was a
Really?
2.8, at least for what I know, all winter long. You know, even last fall, I caught way more fish on the smaller chug bug than I did the bigger ones. I mean, it's,
Really?
oh yeah. And I don't mean the tiny one, but I mean,
I know what you
you know,
mean.
the
I know what
2.5
you-
to 3 inch baits is what I've caught the vast majority of my fish on compared to the bigger ones. So,
Right.
I mean, it would not surprise me if someone's like, I'm whacking them on the smaller. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit. I'm not saying
Really?
it's going to happen, but it would. If somebody's like, "Hey, I'm catching them on a
There you go,
3
Kurt.
inch weight bait," on me like, well,
I have heard a lot about
Makes
smaller
sense.
baits lately, which is kind of weird.
We could have bought some herring. We could have bought some herring to eat tonight.
Because I mean, like you're saying about small baits, I mean, I caught the one that spit up that massive herring. It ate a small bait.
It ate a small bait. Best color for herring spawn.
Herring.
And I will say this: there will be a spawn on Latham. They do it on Latham as well, so that is coming up. Chrome for you.
If you go throw anything chrome,
Do you think?
it don't matter if it's cloudy, sunny.
Okay, I was about to ask that.
It don't matter. If it looks chrome,
I've caught probably more on chromish or bonish. I mean, it
I
really
like
doesn't.
bone.
Yeah, I've caught a pile on a bone bait too. I mean,
the ghost baits will work too, but
I don't like them this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say anything in the natural shad looking.
Yeah.
You know,
but I can promise you this: they're not staring at it that hard.
No, they're
not staring at it.
They're not. But
you
I'll
can probably throw a pink jerk bait.
I don't know if I'd go out there with a fire tiger and let it rip because
Yeah.
it just doesn't look.
Yeah,
Like what they're on.
Yeah, I mean, it looks unnatural for what they're used to seeing. But
Methylate
anything that looks
fluke.
close to being natural to what they're seeing, let it rip.
I got you.
Methylate fluke.
Yeah, me and Kurt
Just saying.
definitely need to get together. I love me some sardines and mustard and hot sauce. I don't know why any man does not like that stuff, but apparently I'm surrounded by them. So anyway, yeah, there definitely isn't a Dodgers game on because we have Kurt here tonight. So that's a good thing like that. Okay. Do you attack you got the bluebacks we covered. Now you're going up to what you think is a shad spawn. Smaller baits, or you still throwing the same chug bug, top water kind of stuff at
I'm
them?
throwing smaller.
You're going
If
smaller.
I'm going
automatically.
smaller. If I know they're eating the shad, I'm going smaller.
So, like,
I'm going
when
to
you-
throw a 2.5.
So if you
inch
target a
weight.
bridge pollen, you're going to I'm going to downsize and throw this up there to see if they're there.
Yeah, I mean, I have caught a pile of fish on bridge pylons. Y'all gonna laugh.
Yeah, I'm not going to laugh.
With my old drop shot special, I'll bang up there, let it hit the pylon, go straight down, and I have absolutely had some really, really good days doing that.
There you go.
Yeah, I actually what I thought was a shad spawn going on Latham. The walkway goes out. It's got 3 different pylons, and in the house, I will take a weightless wacky rig and throw it up there and hit it and just let it sink right down that thing. And it
There you
gets
go.
down about 5 foot and it's just whoop.
Oh, that's so much fun.
It's just whoop, it just takes off like that. But now that's to me, that's just guessing on the time of the year because I don't really see any visible.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I've
know,
I've
it's
gone
more
to
of a
where
guess.
I've gone to where I've seen them flickering, and I'll put, a little small plastic about yay big. It can be shad shaped. Doesn't have to be the little roboworm shad looking deal that's about yay long.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah, and it's
Is there a visible sign? Like let's just say
yeah, you'll see them
floating.
flickering on the water. It looks like little ripples. It'll be dead slick everywhere else, and you'll look up and it'll just be ripples.
That's so
You're
cool.
seeing hundreds and hundreds of small
Yeah,
ripples.
or
and
you'll
stuff like
you'll
that.
see them like up next to docks. You'll just see clouds, or up next to seawalls, and they'll spin in circles.
Yeah, around those bridge pilings, like Brown's Bridge, where you see every pole has a dang group of thread fins around it. That's so much fun.
Okay.
You can grab
I don't catch fish on
You can
that.
grab a
Good.
2.8 and put it on a 1/8 ounce head and let it rip, or 3/16 and
Okay.
hang on for dear life.
Now your setup. Any particular setup, or you just use whatever you got tied on? I mean, you going with like
4. I mean,
let's say bluebacks. You're attacking a blueback.
I want to attack those. That'll be bait casters mostly.
Okay.
I mean, I don't overcomplicate it. I buy my P line in the 3,000 yard spool, and I swap it out every so often. And it costs me $70 for 3,000 yards. I can change line every day, and it still doesn't cost me anything.
Right.
The bait's moving that fast.
Yeah.
Crystal clear, and let it rip. And you're not going to break it either. So
Makes sense.
when a striper hits it, I'm not crying.
What about you?
same.
When and why do you step away from the herring spawn for plan B?
I don't think I've ever really thought about that before until
I mean, I would say,
if they're not eating it.
yeah, I mean, you'll realize after you hit enough places, if you hit some historical places where they're at and you're not getting them, and you back out a little bit deeper as the day goes on and they're still not hitting it, then I'd say 4 or 5 places, and I'm going to go do something else. I'm not going to sit there and beat a dead horse from daylight till 1 o'clock and then be like, oh shit, but go find something else to do.
Like you
Right.
said, making that change early, especially if you're a tournament fisherman.
Mhm.
Because I mean, if you find a new pattern, you got to have time to expand on that. And that's one thing I had trouble with, except for now recently. Because I mean, just about every tournament I fish lately, it's been something different every day. So I'll go out doing what I did yesterday, and I'm like, oh shoot, this isn't working. Got to go find something new, and then
Fishing
expand
for the
on
past
it.
Couple of weeks has been something different every day.
Every single day.
It's
Yep.
not,
Yes.
you can't like we caught them on a wacky worm,
Especially the big
yesterday,
ones.
and then you go out there and you may catch 4 on a wacky worm, but yesterday you caught 22.
Especially
And it's like,
And
well, this
from
wasn't really
Lake-
working
I
very
went-
good today.
I went back and looked at I've got a little day planner. I write the number of fish I caught, and then 1 or 2 little things just to help trigger memories.
Mhm.
And you look, and it's like double-digit fish, almost double-digit, like 29, 24, 8. And it's like every
Yeah.
other day.
I love it.
I mean, it's like, what in the world? I'll have 120 week fish 1 week. The next week, I'll have 70.
Really,
And it makes no sense.
I
Like,
can
what the hell?
I can agree with that completely, because I always think if I have a bad day, I don't think it's possible to have 2 bad days in a row in linear, unless something's really wrong. Like, it always seems like somehow, if you have a bad day, the next day is probably going to be good.
Okay, that makes sense. Kurt Wehunt, never underestimate a 5 or 6 inch
yeah.
flutter spoon around the pilings and big docks.
Dang, I'm going to try that.
Flutter spoons. There's a lot of places where those 5 or 6 and even down to 3 to 4 is a big thing on like marina docks. That's a big deal on some Highland reservoirs.
Okay, that makes sense. Let me get this question real
Dylan.
quick for you up there, because this one's actually for E-Rock
Oh,
right there.
man.
How do you manage fishing in school at the same time? I'm currently a freshman. Good
So yeah,
question. Good question.
that's rough, because definitely, like, my parents, you always ask me, do you go fishing today every Thursday? And
I
if I have
do.
school, no,
Yeah,
because
do
I
all
mean,
the time.
I'm really not allowed to just take off school and miss school. I mean, every so often, especially if we're not doing anything, I could take a day off here, get some practice in. But I mean, like, having these Saturday tournaments and I have school the whole week up there, it's difficult. So definitely being able to do the weekends, I fish every single day I have off. I mean, if it's a day off, I go fishing. So if I have a week off, I'll fish 9 days in a row. And if it's a weekend, I fish both days, and I just try to sunrise to sunset, that kind of thing, even in the dark if you want to, stuff like that. But just maximum hours as you can get in a week, because you can rack up, especially during the summertime, even if you're only fishing weekends, you can rack up close to 30 hours in a weekend, just staying out there the whole time, and that's a lot of fishing. That can really help. So
it helps to love it too.
yeah, oh yeah, you have to, because I mean,
30 hours in a week.
but
That is a lot of hours. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you have to, especially trying to make it. Like, I mean, he's really into it, so I bet he would be fine with it. But doing that stuff, because you got to keep the school up, especially pursuing the college stuff. I mean, school's first. I'm lucky. I do pretty well in school, so that's not too big of a concern for
That
me.
is a nice way of saying he's smart.
No, I'm not that smart. I'm not horrible, so it's not too much of a concern for
I
me.
got you.
But stuff like that. If you have a week off, get a job. If you have to have a job, which most kids my age do.
You have to have a job.
That's called.
Well, I
being
mean,
an
some
adult.
of these kids just don't. I mean, some of these kids can just not have a
I
job and they can
understand.
fish whenever. I have a job. I can work weekdays, and I like Chick-fil-A. I work at Chick-fil-A, and I can work till 11 o'clock, so I can get big, long, like 6 hours after school. So that helps a lot.
Right.
And then I can also take it off in advance. So if I have a week off, I know I can take that week off and really fish hard. But yeah, if it's a day I have off, I'm going fishing. And if it's a school day, I'll just work after.
I got you.
But just doing that kind of stuff, just fish as much as physically possible.
Beloniga.
Camp Marketplace.
Oh, that's right. He's not from.
Yeah. I work in the back though, so you're probably not going to see me.
We need to go plan a day trip.
day trip to go see.
No, you're not going to. No.
I'm gonna say I need that Beasley special. What number is the Beasley
Make sure
special?
he says my pleasure.
And yeah, I want to
Oh,
hear Beasley.
I work
say
in the
my
back. I don't
pleasure.
have to say that.
Yeah, yes, you do.
But yeah.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Just maximizing time. That's all it is. And you gotta. And the part that kind of sucks about it is I don't do much fun fishing.
No, you very yeah.
I very much practice. Like, I mean, especially the day before a tournament.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna catch more than probably 4 or 5 fish, and that's a good day for me.
He's serious.
I mean, that's what you have to do.
I enjoy fun fishing too much.
I
I see. That's
my problem.
All right, now you're low man on totem pole. I need a refill.
that's fine. I don't care. I'm always.
I want you to say it's my pleasure.
I ain't gonna say it's my pleasure. I am not gonna
Paul's
say it's my
thirsty.
That's
pleasure.
why,
Paul's
that's
thirsty.
why we're going to go get us some free chicken.
He is thirsty.
Is
that's
that
Facebook-
actually a thing?
If you're watching on Facebook,
Wow.
you might have heard me say this before, but I know I have it tonight. If you're watching on Facebook, you need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and put in your name so that we can address you by your name and not Facebook user, or put your name in the comments right there. So anyway, so Michael Temples, this is kind of interesting. You guys can touch on this. I was on the north end of Lanier today for 9 hours. And Paul, scroll that up just for me, bud.
What do you want, Danny?
I'm reading Michael Temples right there, but the new comments is over right there. There you go. And we caught 3 fish, and they were on the bottom, which is the opposite of what we found today.
Mhm.
We did not catch any fish on the bottom. Now, did you get to go out today, Jeff?
I did.
Now, was yours on the bottom?
We caught a couple on the bottom. The vast majority of our fish came on a kitech today.
On a kitech today, so moving, which kind of would make more sense, kind of from what we saw right there. So
We did get bit on the bottom, but that was not the ticket for us today.
that's right there. That's right. I don't use gas. I'm total electric, but I will say that yeah, I mean gas can be, but no cartel. We just go. Beasley, that's in Beasley attends class 2. Yeah, he does. Was at Cedar Creek on Sunday and caught 15 fish, and all of them were nice fish. Hey, there you go. There you go. I know we got that tournament coming up, so you better keep that in mind. Back to and again, this could go on every lake except Allatoona, because Allatoona is primarily threadfin, wouldn't you say, or bluegill? I mean, I know people say there's bluebacks in it, but is that the?
Well, the bluegill brim spawn's a little bit different.
It is different, but so if we're just talking about bait fish that's been introduced to the lake, Allatoona's threadfin.
Mhm.
What would you say? Carter's is the alewife.
Mhm.
That's the I'm sure they all got threadfin. That alewife, Blue Ridge,
Both.
Both?
Threadfin and herring.
okay, Nodley,
Threadfin and herring.
Chatoog.
Threadfin and herring.
How about Burton
Threadfin herring. And
Trout.
and Trout? All right,
Trout are awesome there.
Trout attempting to spawn and trout getting dumped into the lake.
okay,
Because those are two totally different things.
gotcha. All right, what about what about Hartwell?
Herring and threadfin.
Threadfin.
Okay,
And herring are becoming more prevalent.
So are the spots.
and so we know what Lanier is. Lanier's got a pretty healthy population of gizzards too, right? I mean, it's
Yeah, I don't see them as much as I see. I still see the majority that I call are either threadfin or herring. I mean, I would say the vast majority of fish that are.
how far down do we have to go in the state of Georgia to where bluebacks are non-existent?
Do we have any Oconee and Sinclair?
No.
I wouldn't say so either.
Yeah, I think
We have-
yet is the
Yeah, is the key word.
Now,
no, because they're in Clarks Hill.
they're in Clarks
For
Hill,
sure.
Mhm.
so it doesn't have nothing to do
Clarks
with.
Hill goes pretty far.
Yeah, so that's a big old
Yeah.
lake.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I mean, I think they have to have some deep water for cool water, but it's
So that's what I was going to say. Is it a temperature thing for the bluebacks? Can they pretty much go anywhere all the way down through Florida, or is it just we just don't have
It
them in the
does
southern
seem that
lakes?
they like that colder water. I mean,
I really don't know. So
ish.
I'm asking.
I'd have to look it up.
I don't know
I
either.
honestly don't know. I know it is.
I don't know. I'm wondering what West Point has.
The only
in it.
thing I know about bluebacks for certain is if you put them in a square tub, they die.
That's true.
That is true.
When have you been experimenting with this?
No,
Chef?
that's true. That's
They
big
go
guy.
up.
That's why they're
No,
round.
literally, they go up in the
Yeah.
corner and they die. They don't know what to do. They go up in the corner and they get confused. There's something about angles. They don't like math. I don't know why.
Chef's wife gets home. She's like, "Why are there bluebacks in the tub?" God,
Yeah,
dang it!
If we go on smaller reservoirs, Hickory Log is threadfin. Latham is stocked with threadfin, but has been introduced. Bluebacks have been introduced to it.
There you
Rocky Mountain is
Giz-
gizzards. It has some threadfin.
But
I
it
think
has
it's
some
pro-
threadfin,
has some threadfin, but it's
gizzards
primarily
are
gizzards.
There's gizzards in all.
Yahoo needs something.
Yahoo!
Koi.
Crap.
That's true.
That's
I-
it. That's it.
This koi up under the bridge that you always see scares the heck out of you.
Ron, I'm so glad Ron's back.
Fathead sand minnows. That's about all.
Fathead sand
That's all
minnows.
they got.
Temps
That's
plus
true.
oxygen saturation will determine where bluebacks can live or not.
Is that why we don't see them on Synchronian and Clear?
I don't know. Kevin says they're on a well.
Synchronian.
Underwood says right there that they're in Oconee.
Are they?
I
I
had,
hadn't fished on there in years. So
I wouldn't.
but I would
they just
say if
seem
they are,
different.
they're not predominant.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
because
just.
like they're in Alatoona.
Yeah.
The striper guys are telling everybody that they're seeing them in Alatoona,
Yeah.
but
Well, you got stripers in Oconee, and stripers got about the same habitat requirements that a blueback has.
Somewhat. Yeah.
what do you think about that comment? Because I don't know.
well, the bluebacks are generally introduced into lakes
For stripers.
for stripers
Yeah.
by fishermen trying to
Yep.
catch stripers.
Yeah.
So it's
I mean,
yeah,
But they like that same kind of tent.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. I would say that the stripers come first, generally speaking, in the
Yeah.
bluebacks.
oh, for sure.
I could see the lower end of Coney definitely holding them. It's just, I mean, that lake is definitely a lot more sedimentation in it. I mean,
Right.
it's a muddier lake, and Sinclair definitely.
But if you're going there, you wouldn't be targeting a shad spawn for bluebacks on Oconee. You'd be looking for threadfin. Huh?
Oh, Coney, there's a lot of places I feel like they would.
For herring,
The herring.
Seawalls.
You think they would get on those boulders and stuff? That's the one thing that struck me. I got down by the dam. I'm seeing these boulders and stuff. I'm like, what the heck?
There-
I'm
Right
just
on the-
curious
right on the
as to
fall
what they
line.
would.
the dam's right on the fall line.
Yeah,
That's cool.
so
I'm just curious as to what they would actually spawn on.
yeah, 2 comments right here. So yeah, we put bluebacks into a square cooler and they've died. Put them in a 5-gallon bucket and they live. Neil
Crazy.
Scoggins says that, which goes back to what Ryan was saying. And Tim Wyatt, this comment, and I have, so I understand what he's saying right here. If you've never seen the heron spawn in the culvert at Latham, you're definitely missing out.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah, listen. Latham is a beast when it's
that culvert
yes,
has been fire on that place since
Yes.
they opened the gates of that
it
thing.
is.
You
It is. It is. It's that nice little bowl coming up to it, and
Oh, it's
everything around
nice.
that island is. Yeah, that's April, May, right in there, and if you get to be on it after hours, I can tell you some great stuff. But we'll just go with that.
Bluebacks on Santee.
I don't know, so I was going to read that right there.
Out of Winya Bay.
Oh, okay.
Isn't a blueback originally from
All right.
saltwater and comes to freshwater to spawn? I know that's the case on the Sandy Cooper Lakes, and that is true. That's what I read today. We have just taken those,
Yeah.
and put them into these other reservoirs, but it is a saltwater fish, and there was a big, nice, fancy name like a Dronimus or something like that I don't, whatever that was, but that is true. They'll go up into the freshwater, spawn, and then go back out to the saltwater if in nature as they were created to do. That's what I read today. So bluebacks kill themselves by constantly running into corners. So I mean that's kind of strange though. Yeah, that round they can keep going, but that corner just throws them off. Would that explain where they spawn on some lakes like that? The bays and kind of the blow-throughs, they're always kind of roundish.
Open water.
Open water kind of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, true 90-degree angles don't occur naturally in nature.
You're probably right.
That's true.
You're probably right.
Pure horizontal lines don't occur naturally in nature. So
I am going to believe you and take your word on that because I don't know. Bluebacks are in the St. John's River. Now, I did read that.
Really?
Read that. Yes, I did read that today. So it seems to be they can survive because I saw Connecticut stocked them. So we go up north, and they are in Florida.
Yeah.
So their range, I know that they're the alewife. Now, you said keep them out. Why did you say that? Because they're cousins, pretty much. They're in the same family,
yeah, they stay deeper.
Really?
And that's a very deep fish,
which makes
Oh,
Carter's
yeah.
perfect for it.
and it also makes it extremely difficult to
More-
catch.
Dragging a swim bait around.
Well, you know what? The guys that come backwoods.
Yeah.
I can't get backwoods in my mind. That's right. They hate it. They hate the alewives up there.
Yeah,
They can't
I've never read
stand
too
it.
much good stuff about.
I don't know anybody who says, "Oh, I love that wife."
Hey, I don't think I've ever read that comment. Maybe it exists. Maybe there's some guys that do like them.
Great Lakes.
What about up north, the Great Lakes and
Great
stuff?
Lakes.
Yeah.
So is that where they're predominantly from? Is
No,
I mean
they're actually from Europe.
from Europe,
Yeah, they're a non-native species.
non-native species. Well, what makes them so bad? Does anybody know?
Great Lakes, they don't live well in fresh water. In the Great Lakes, they had trouble with them getting shocked by water temp changes, and they would die by the millions.
Ooh, that's rough.
And you just have tons of them washed up on the beaches.
Interesting. But that doesn't happen in Carter's. I don't guess.
I guess because they can just drop so.
All
low
I know
so
is that
quickly.
those guys were not very happy that those were in there.
I wouldn't be.
Very
So-
adamant about that.
Very, very adamant about that. They hate it.
I mean,
So it was illegally introduced.
Jeremy said over here, whoever put the alewives in the lake, I like to bait them.
Oh yeah, he was absolutely. He did not like it. Best resources to understand if a lake has herring.
I mean, I don't mean to be a smart
No, you can't.
individual with this, but Google is your friend when it comes to that one.
yeah.
I mean, and there's tons of information that's out there if you just Google are herring in Lake X, and if they're in there, there's
It's a
going to
good
be
place to start.
there's going to be all kinds of stuff that pops up, and then you can use that to guide you where you want to go. But if you're trying to figure it out, that would be my first start. Are herring in Lake X? Enter.
And
I'm not trying to be a smart
seriously.
ass, but that's
No,
so do
absolutely
that,
not.
and then that's going to pull up some stuff, and then you can break it down. And then, I mean, if you want to go official stuff, then most of the natural resources fishing pages will have, what are in the different lakes, and that's also a great official. Of
Whether
what's
they've been
in and what's not
stocked and
in.
if there's a stocking program and stuff like that. No thermocline in Carter's, and I'm sure that helps out some as well. What do bluebacks do throughout the year? Like we're talking about them coming up shallow in the wintertime. Do they like say on linear? Do they stay deeper or they're
an open water species.
in open water? So they're always moving constantly.
They're
They
always
don't,
moving, and they're generally out towards the main, the mouths of the creeks out on the main lake.
and
I
is
mean,
that,
they will get back, but generally they're an open water, deep water species of fish.
now when we're talking about ditch fishing earlier in the year, and we're talking about Ryan would always say early in the morning they would push bait up.
Mhm.
And then they would come back during the day. Is that bluebacks? Is that threadfin, or does it matter? Will they do that to both species?
Both.
Both. So they'll push it up, gorge,
No.
pull back.
I think it depends on where. If you're up the lake, it's probably thread fins. If you're down the lake, it could be bluebacks, depending on how deep the ditch is.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on what ditch you're in.
Mhm.
It could be both,
Okay. Well,
depending on where you're at.
so if you're taking the northern end of Lanier, you got the two rivers coming in. But by what you're saying right there, that's going to be, I'm sure there could be some up there, but that's going to be predominantly more threadfin up that way, and bluebacks more down south because of the openness of the water.
That's my experience. I mean, take it for what it's worth. Probably about like the dirt on the bottom of my shoe, but generally I find more up the lake. I have found more shad, and down the
Okay.
lake I have found more herring oriented
Okay.
fish. That's
Okay.
not saying that they don't live. I mean, obviously they live in both places, but general orientation as a rule of thumb, I found more shad up, more herring down.
Okay. And so that, of course, knowing that knowledge affects the way if you're targeting fish eating those.
Right.
Of course, like that.
They-
What you reading there, boss? You looking up something?
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking at?
Well,
I
What
was
is,
just looking up what lakes had blueback herring.
and what did you find?
Well, bluebacks are in Oconee, but they're not supposed to be there, and the DNR is not very happy that they're in there.
Yeah, I want to be.
And if they're in Oconee,
Lanier is
Mhm.
lucky.
They'll be in Sinclair.
They'll be
They'll
in
be in
Sinclair.
Sinclair.
Mhm.
with the amount of water they pump back and forth, there's no way you're going to have a species in one and it not being
And
together.
if the DNR is not very happy about it, then
It's gonna mess some stuff up.
I mean, Sinclair and Oconee are kind of, for us, are kind of your largemouth
I don't.
destinations.
and-
you go to Oconee and Sinclair to go. You're most likely the majority of the fish you're going to catch are going to be largemouth.
Yeah, and personally, I don't. If I'm driving 2 hours, I'm not going to Oconee. If I'm driving 2 hours, I'm going to the Tennessee River.
Going north.
I'm going
Tennessee
north.
River.
Okay, that,
Oconee is
that
definitely.
makes sense. What's up, Buddha? Glad you could join us tonight.
After fishing Oconee, it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, once you figure it out, I mean, it's pretty. dang
But it
fun
is a
lake.
largemouth lake.
Yeah,
Yes.
for the most part. No, there's
Yeah.
definitely a growing spot population for sure.
I think
I've heard
yeah.
about it. My friends that are
Like
real
Jackson.
good down there.
Jackson has a. I mean, they're not getting big, but there's a pile of spots in Jackson.
And then like Clark's Hill, I had a full bag of spots. When I
Right.
fished that tournament, I mean, I probably caught like 20 spots and didn't see a largemouth.
Okay.
And that was the way I was fishing, but still, I figured I would see some largemouth.
That's a pretty interesting comment right there. So I usually see them on live scope, And the shad is usually a tighter ball. Bluebacks
correct.
seem to
I
be
can agree
a
with that.
looser bait ball. Hopefully, I said that correctly.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Yes.
So if you're looking at it and it's
Mm.
sporadic spread all across the screen, more than likely bluebacks.
And two, if you're looking at them and you can sit there and look at them for like 15 seconds and they don't really move, then it's
Yeah.
shad.
Shad
Well,
like
yeah.
to stay. They don't. Yeah, they're more stationary for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah. I mean, this
I
thread,
know me and you specifically in that one particular place that me and you went the first time me and you fished together. We said, look, and then they went as fast as they could fly
Yeah,
underneath
those
the
were not.
boat.
Those were not shad.
No, those were not shad.
Yeah.
Those
Okay.
were
I mean,
bluebacks.
It's like, oh, here they are. And there
there
they
they
go.
go.
Here they are. There they go.
like those threadfin, you can.
Oh, here comes the fish! Right behind you. As fast as they were, as fast as they could swim.
Like I can't even turn the motor that fast.
All right, there you go. Actually, that's how we will end up with spots and hickory line. It's interesting. It is on the Etowah River, and they do kind of pump water from the Etowah into Hickory when it gets low. That's how they ended up in Latham.
Really?
Because they were in Yellow Creek and stuff. Yeah, spots were not stocked in Latham. They were in the Yellow Creek Basin, which right there is off the Etowah. So that's how they got in there. They only
Yeah.
stocked largemouth in Latham, but there's, of course, we all know there's a healthy as hell population of spotted bass, some big spotted bass in Latham, if you know how to catch them. So,
Yeah, there you go.
all right. So,
Real quick on the
Yeah.
Panoptics thing, just the threadfin, kind of like a wouldn't you say like a moving kind of cloud? Almost.
It's kind of like a fuzz ball.
Yeah, it's like a little fuzzy
it's
cloud,
like-
and it'll move, and you can stomp, and it'll go. Yeah, then yeah, but
And then every now and again you'll see something go.
oh yeah, and you see,
it's a bass or a striper one. It's just went boom and they'll blow a hole in
yeah,
the shad.
how about when we see them like today, where we saw a big bait ball on the bottom? Could be either or.
whatever.
Because we saw a big
Yes.
bait ball on the bottom today.
Well, those that I told you, those were shad because they were like
Okay.
they were clumped up and it was in like
Yeah.
14 feet of water.
But 9 times out of 10, if you see them like the bluebacks get on the bottom like that, like we saw today on the screens, if they're moving, it doesn't seem to make sense.
Most of the time I've ever seen bluebacks like anywhere relating near the bottom, not talking about spawn, anywhere close to being related to the bottom is if you find some in the back of a creek in the pocket in April at 2:00 in the afternoon and you look down there like,
Yep.
look, and they're
Yeah,
back
and
there.
that's not because they're related
And-
to the bottom. That's
no.
because they're trying to warm up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
They just don't
Weird.
seem to really get. I don't know. That's why, that's one of the reasons why, like, Kitex on fish heads and stuff like that, and football ditch diggers and stuff like that. That's why they work so good in the wintertime,
Mhm.
is because the fish come down here and they're hanging out down here, and the bait is above them, and this little thing comes swimming by them, and they're like, "Oh, look, one got away," and
Yep.
it's not with the group.
Very, very interesting comment by Kurt right there. On
Yeah.
side scan, blueback schools tend to be horizontal,
Mm.
a horizontal layer, and the threads
I don't have
ball
side
up.
scan, so
But that
You can see that on 2D also.
Yeah, yeah.
okay, all right, that
That's
makes
cool.
sense.
That's cool.
So will blueback stay still long enough?
No.
Yeah, that's kind of what has been going on today.
Still-
I mean,
Sometimes, like you said, in back of the ditches, they'll stay in there for a while. You can see them because they just get pushed all the way back there, and they kind of do their little circles in the backs of the ditches.
we saw some that were pretty shallow
Yeah.
today.
Lately, I mean, like I was saying, I mean, looking for these spawning largemouth and stuff, I'll go in the backs of these pockets. I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot of herring back here. And
That's what we saw
Yeah.
today.
yeah, and I'm like, oh my god. And then you start fishing for spotted bass with that, and oh my god, there's spotted bass
There's
here.
spotted
And it's
bass
like
in there.
there's still a ditch bite. Well, it's ditch bite, but however you would like to.
I seen a bunch out there today in the back of pockets, real shallow. You see
Oh,
them
there you
like
go. Yeah.
fizzing. Is that what it said? Fizzing to the top. Is that shad?
I would say more likely than not. That
Okay.
would probably be shad.
What do you think he's meaning by when he says fizzing to
Like
the top?
rippling the top.
yeah.
Rippling the top. Okay.
Yeah, I would say more likely than not if it was in the back of a pocket. That was probably.
They'll get up
shad.
in the little bit balls back here in the backs of these.
Yeah, it looked like wind almost.
Yeah.
Just moving around.
Mhm.
You're like, wait a second, the wind's not blowing that way.
Yeah.
Bait.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so let's do this because I know you want to talk about it. Let's talk about the grass situation that you saw and your comments about it.
Well, it's going to be getting.
Yeah.
It's going to make things get difficult, even more difficult than they are if that snot grass keeps growing. Wouldn't you agree? To fish something on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean,
because you can't. I mean, last
Crankbait.
time me and you fished, me and you fished a couple places, and
it's making the shallow shaky head bite very difficult on the lower end.
yeah, because you can't even drag your shaky head like 2 feet, and it's like, ugh.
And I'm
It's
not talking
already
the
in
grass.
it.
I mean the slime.
The slime.
There's two different.
Yeah, that's what we're talking
species
about.
of
That snot.
It's like almost like algae.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of it like above Brown's Bridge, but it's nowhere near compared to when you get below Brown's Bridge.
Yeah, it's not even comparable. I fished what day this week? One day this week I fished up above Browns Bridge and a good bit above 53. And like I fished for hours and never and in some relatively shallow water.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is awesome.
You can.
This is what it feels like to drag a shaky head in 6 feet of water again and not get caught up in slime every 5 minutes.
I know what you mean.
But it's going to make it's going to make things very difficult.
I think it's going to increase people
Yeah.
fishing a drop shot, casting it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That, and then two, what you're talking about, and what all of us can go
Crankbait.
catch fish. Crankbait's going to be getting.
That's what I'm
hard.
saying. You feel like crankbait stop vibrating, and you're like,
Yeah.
But it's going to be 64, 65 degrees, and you're going to go throw a shaky head.
Yeah.
And instead of throwing a shaky head in 10 feet or less, you're going to be having to throw a shaky head in like 20
You think it's
just to be able to get your bait.
you think it's growing more as it gets warmer? Because I mean, I've seen so much during the winter.
And I can tell you
Yeah.
the amount of it now compared to when I left a few years ago to
Right.
Really.
that is a big change
within the
on
past
this lake.
4 years. It
is blown up.
yeah.
I think, of course, I missed most of the conversation there, but Tim Wyatt is 100% right. Welcome to electric only lakes. We have to deal with that almost every lake.
That's rough.
Latham's got it.
Really,
There's some spots in Latham it's almost impossible to throw a
Mhm.
shaky head
really.
or
Yeah.
jig.
Mhm.
It is almost
It's-
impossible. Ron says we've been seeing that slime for a few years at Alatuna. Seems to
Yeah.
be getting more and more each
But I
year.
wonder what it is. I mean, it's got
It's
to be
weird.
algae. It's got to be some kind of algae.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would make sense if it's algae because
Yeah.
you don't find it further up the lake where
Yeah.
the water's
Right.
dirtier.
Mhm.
And the way that it grows, it's kind of weird. At least the way I've seen it, it's like almost in these little clumps.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's what you guys have seen. I don't see like big long patches of it. I see like clump here, clump here, clump here. It's kind of weird.
Which makes it hard because you can't you can't fish like the edge of it. Like
Yeah.
you can go to hydrilla lakes and you can fish the edge of the hydrilla, or
Right,
the edge
yeah,
of the
it's
coontail, or
impossible.
the edge of whatever it is on
And
this.
they're just
It's
there.
like
It's
there's
just
a patch here and a patch there and a patch there and a patch there. Well, there's a rock there, so there's none there. But
Like to quote Bronson Sunday when me and him fished, he said, "We're gonna this stuff keeps getting like this. We're gonna have to throw a damn split shot rig here for too long."
I mean,
But he
seriously,
ain't lying.
no split shot, shaky head, wacky
I mean,
rig.
something with a
Was
split shot and your
Yeah.
worm is back here, and the split shot is like down here.
Yeah.
In order to keep your worm
we do a drop.
away.
We do a drop shot lots of
The-
times. We just
yeah.
have to know that it's going to get on your way.
Yeah.
You
And
just
while
got to
you were
drag it slow.
gone, Jeff was like, "You're going to see more. If it keeps getting bad, you're going to see more and more and more people actually casting drop shots."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we
But,
have to do on some of them.
Yeah, I mean that stuff. It doesn't.
Maybe
It's not
great
like
way to-
grass where you like kind of like you can rip it and clear it and all that. It just grabs and it just
does.
It
It does, and it's
And even taking it
loves
off.
treble hooks.
Yeah,
it loves
and it's so
trouble.
difficult to take all of it off because you rip it and there's so little pieces.
I think I've
like,
broken like 3 crankbaits this year. I get mad and start popping them.
You
And
start popping, trying to
Yeah,
get it
then-
off and bust it. Yeah, I know, absolutely.
There goes
Lake
$7.
level say more stable than years past.
Ooh, that's rough.
I guess.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
That's
we
the
won,
point.
we won
That-
the water battle.
yeah, I mean that is true, and that
water
is
development
that is
on the
definitely
lake,
true.
You got people dumping fertilizer in
True,
there.
true, true.
You know, I've always said that to me though about Latham. It has the golf course right on the upper end. And
You ever
that's where
seen a
the,
golf course
all
pond that
that
didn't have a bunch of algae in it?
right, and that's where the water comes into the lake is right off that golf course. And I don't care what they say. You can't tell me that at least some of it is not draining into the lake.
Speaking of school, eutrophication. Big word.
Whoa, say that again.
Eutrophication.
Explain to the people out there what that is.
You get the fertilizers, those extra nitrates, whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm not very good at school. I get.
That's a bigger word than I know right there. Let's go. Yeah.
He says, I'm not very school. Eutrophication. I never even heard of that word.
Sounds like a law or
Yeah,
something to
it
me.
comes in there. I mean, it's the same thing like what dang river is it? Mississippi River, whatever. Where the Gulf, like there's that whole like dead zone
What's
because
that, boss man?
Yes,
all of
that's
those
Mississippi.
Yeah, all those farms and everything, all that stuff just files into there, and I mean, all those algae blooms and everything from all that fertilizer coming in, because all the stuff it eats gets on that fertilizer. And then,
well, you're not old enough to remember because you weren't born, but I know 4 of us are. Remember back in like the 90s and stuff when all of a sudden you turn on Channel 2 or Fox 5 or something like that, and you would see the flood situation in the Mississippi and
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Arkansas or
like
Mississippi.
the whole damn
and
state would be
they would
underwater.
show the helicopter footage and it's like
Yeah.
looked like Katrina
Yeah,
and
it did.
and all that stuff. Naturally it gets
Well-
up in the people's crop
yeah,
and farmland and stuff, and then as the water recedes, where does that stuff
Well-
go? It goes with the water.
what happens is, at least what I've learned. I mean, you guys probably already know it, but
No, I don't. So
all
keep
the
going.
all the fertilizer and everything goes in, and all that algae blooms. And then once that algae doesn't have anything more to pretty much grow, feed upon, because I mean, everything like that, it dies, and then it sucks all the oxygen when all of it dies and starts to decompose, and all the it pretty much just takes dissolved oxygen out of the water and kills everything.
Now you've been on the show a long time now.
Yeah.
That is to me your best work right there. Seriously, that is a very intelligent answer.
Better than the dead fish.
Yeah, better than
No,
the
man, it's
But listen, no, I'm serious. I'm complimenting you, kid. I'm giving you a compliment. That is very good. And Ron is right there with you. Phosphates and nitrates
Yeah.
in the fertilizer turbo boost the algae growth.
yeah, and then dies, and then everything, and also that algae can also just block sunlight from the plants in the water anyway.
Very good answer. Like Tim White, like Cedar Creek, split shot rig is a go-to bait on Cedar Creek. Cedar Creek at one point, you couldn't run your trolling motor in some of that lake. Just it had so much stuff in it. It was terrible. But we're finding that on Lanier now. And then further and further and further south. How bad can it get on Lanier? Lanier's a big lake. Now on these electric only reservoirs, we're condensed. Lanier's a big lake.
I don't know.
Is there a level how far down it can go, you think? I mean, are we
Yeah,
finding it?
I don't.
Sunlight.
Sunlight.
The big thing.
Sunlight.
I
So
don't find it deeper than.
course.
I'd say a general rule of thumb is I don't really find it deeper than about 12 to 15 feet. You go deeper than that, I don't find it. Shallower than that, yeah, it's all over.
So Allatoona, by its very nature, is dirtier. Will that kind of help it, even though it's getting at that? But will that help it long term?
That'll help it. That'll help it not spread.
Yeah, it's not as deep.
Also with it dropping the water level
Yeah, the
everywhere.
water
And the water's
And the
out.
water dropping and stuff. Good. That's very good. Very good.
Because
So,
when all those reef poles and stuff on Allatoona and Rocky Points on Allatoona are out of the water in January.
right. Pull up Ron's comment right there, if you don't mind there. This is what's been happening in those red tides along the Florida coast.
Yes.
They get that big poisonous or whatever algae bloom like that, caused by runoff and stuff like that.
It's also the reason why they've gotten so big in the Midwest with tiling fields and doing anhydrous applications directly into the plant rows is to minimize the amount of loss of stuff into the Mississippi River
Mhm.
and Missouri River and Ohio River and all the other ones.
So they've noticed it. They know it has happened, and they're really trying to.
They have drastically changed the way that they fertilize crops in the Midwest.
And you would know
As a
that
result.
being that you have your farmhouse out there in Missouri.
Yeah, it's been. I love the Midwest. I go out there frequently.
You hunt out there?
I do.
Good man.
Man, we need to really be friends. So, listen, I got a buddy that goes out to Kansas
I love
every year, and he goes out and he helps plant the farmer's field.
Mhm.
He goes back at harvest time, and in exchange, he gets to hunt on that land, which is a great thing for him. So, a drawdown for a few weeks would help, but tuna draws down each year, of course, and it still gets there, but maybe not to the extent
Yeah, not
that
to
what
the
we might
extent.
see.
But
What about our other lakes like Blue Ridge? Do they have that problem? These other lakes? Because we haven't discussed this on the show ever at all. Algae,
Not
have-
as much development. Of it.
yeah, I
right?
can't. I haven't spent enough time up there recently I mean, I fish Lanier 6 days a week.
Yeah, yeah. There's no telling what goes into Lanier.
What don't help either on Lanier with that situation too is the cabin cruisers dumping their
No, because that's pure.
yeah
Yeah.
dumping their feces. How about that? We'll just put it to you like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Because I've seen them doing it. They're going up the lake or going down the lake and
That's
coming out
nasty.
the back and that water
Nasty.
brown. It's just like
You know what? I've never thought about that till today, which we've never had it. Burton is full of.
Really?
yeah.
That's cool.
I will say this: if a grass ever gets in Lanier, it ain't gonna be there long because all the people with all the influence in the cash will
Oh,
make sure it
true.
gets sprayed.
True.
Now, when
Yeah.
they spray a lake, how does that affect fish?
When it kills the grass, I mean, it can also have some impacts as far as oxygen levels when you have to breakdowns and everything else. But
Right.
Yeah.
If you
If-
follow.
yeah, I mean, you look at, or you can also go back and look at the historical times on Chickamauga when they killed all the grass in Chickamauga about 15 years ago.
Mhm.
It sucked. That lake was horrible. You up there and 10 pounds, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Then they let the grass come back. And when the
Yeah.
grass came back, you put the F1s in. The F1s got in, and you started the bag started going up and up and up and up and up.
You can tell it's like lungs, especially those big, huge grass pockets when all that water comes out. I mean, all that filtered, fresh, oxygenated water. I mean, you run through grass and it's all bubbling with oxygen. Like, it's just good stuff. You kill that stuff, and fish don't like it.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So did we cover
Pleasure
the?
boat they're not a fan of it.
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
can't be swimming in.
You
nobody
can't
wants
be
to swim in
swimming in
grass. I mean, you can, but yeah.
The boss,
Something's touching me.
the boss, aka wife, had me laying pine straw. It is that time of year, Facebook
It's
user.
Kraken.
Yeah. Trust me, I know that my wife has a list for me to do. All right, so we covered the grass. Let's cover this in the last portion of the show. Let's talk about what we're doing right now. Okay, we talked about like the herring spawn's coming, the spawn, shad spawn's coming, but right now we're in the middle of where we've got post spawn fish, spawning fish, and still some pre-spawn fish out there. So right now you said you're on the lake 6 days a week. What patterns are you kind of seeing kind of shaping up right now for those that might be going out here in the next week or two?
Pattern.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that is the pattern.
It is the pattern. I know.
Pattern.
What? Well,
Hope you find it early.
You ever play Yahtzee?
yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's about how it rolls.
Pretty
Literally.
accurate.
What is it? The time of year, or is it does it have more with the time of the year, or is it with the way the weather's been so screwed up?
I think a lot of it's the weather this year. You know, and somebody had a comment earlier. I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but he mentioned the wind. And people don't realize
We've had
how
that.
much of an impact. Well, the wind has a huge impact on the temperature of the water also. The more wind you have, the more surface area you have connected to the atmosphere, which means the more heat loss you have. Think about the radiator in your car. I mean, that's how it cools, is the air coming across the water. So, you know, if you have 60-degree air temperature and you have heavy winds, you're not, even if the sun's shining, you're not going to warm
It's
up.
not going to warm up.
No, if anything, it might actually drop. There was a day last week, I think it was, where, you know, it was somewhat warm, but the wind was howling, and the water temperature actually dropped over the course of the day. From what I saw, it dropped like 1 to 2 degrees, the average that I was seeing. I was like,
That's
it's
crazy.
going the opposite direction.
And
You're getting mixing from that wave action.
Yeah,
right?
well, A, it's mixing, and B, you've got that lovely thing of, you know, I forget what it is. Basically, it's pushing off the heat because you have more, the water's mixing, you have more surface contact with the air temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
it cools it.
anybody that's fished in North Georgia from basically January up to now, especially if you're a weekend angler, it has been
A yo-yo.
windy, just
Absolutely.
crazy wind this year.
I love it.
You like it.
Keeps people off my spots.
I understand that, but
I don't mind waves coming over the bow. And just whoosh.
well,
That's fun.
you are a different breed, but it
Yeah.
has
I
made.
love
But
it.
we have had, to me, it seems like abnormal winds this year.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know if they've been abnormal, but we've definitely had a lot of strong winds.
It's lasted longer.
And usually it's just March. And then, you know, you combine that with, you start getting in wind, and you combine that with some upper 30-degree nights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a shock to a
Tuesday.
I mean, and go look, I mean, in the shallower water
Mhm.
is going to be impacted faster than the deep water. where the fish right now, they're in the shallow water. So the temperature is going to impact those fish faster than it is the fish on the main lake. So I'd say the main lake fish are probably more consistent, or have been, at least for me anyway. And then the shallower water fish are more impacted by these cold nights. But based off the weather, I think we may be pretty much done with those.
Yeah, because
Up
we
to
are in a
30.
we're in a warming trend right
You know
now.
what's gonna happen, right?
What's
Yeah,
gonna
we'll get
happen?
snow next week.
Right. And then followed by the snow, all of a sudden it's gonna be like, gonna be warm here in Atlanta, 90
It's going to be
degrees.
90 degrees.
Oh, I know it.
That's
I know it.
Yeah, there was water temps last week on the lake that were in the 57, 58, and depending on last week,
And it should
8
be
days ago,
Yeah.
and
I
right now
What should we be?
I don't
right
check
now?
the temperature right now.
I'd say mid 60s.
What did we find today?
The warmest that we found was 63.
Yeah.
But I run Lawrence's.
And you said they're a little cooler than normal,
Well, they're a little warmer.
a little
They're
warmer
They're
than normal.
warmer compared to a compared to a Garmin. I can't
Sure.
speak on hummingbirds. I don't have a water temp on my bird, but
Right.
my Lowrance and my Garmin are between 4 and 5 degrees off. Constant year round
I've
does
seen
not
that.
matter. There's 5 degrees, 4 to 5 degrees difference.
What do you do?
in them.
Just kind of say, it's probably in the middle.
I split the difference.
Split the
There you go.
difference. That makes sense.
That's why I'm at next rig, the new boat I'm going to get soon, hopefully. I'm having a Lawrence and a Humminbird at the console,
Okay.
comparing maps and temperatures, because I really think
Yeah,
like
there's
you're saying.
the maps. It's like there's places on Lanier between the sea maps and the Lake
Yeah.
Master. It's like, am I on the same lake?
Yeah, that's
You're
what
looking
I'm,
at the two maps. You're like,
Yeah.
am I on the same lake right now?
Really? That's
that's,
big of a
that's what I
difference.
noted even with my Garmin.
There's some huge differences between the two.
So I would love to have
Very interesting.
Navionics on a phone, sea map, and then Lake Master.
So
You
Michael
can break
says
down a dang lake.
66 on his Lawrence today for
Crazy.
him.
I mean, we were off the water too by 12.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were
I
off
was
our.
off at 1.
Yeah, we were. What's your favorite grass/green cover to fish? Interesting question. We'll start with you, Jeff.
I'm not a big grass
I
guy.
love grass.
I'm not. I'm more.
I'm
of a-
not either.
I like it
just-
because
Give me rocks.
big bags.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take rocks and docks and
Mm-hmm.
trees and
Hard structure.
hard
Hard, yeah,
structure
you like the
over-
hard
over
stuff.
grass. I'm not a big grass guy.
So you like
I
grass.
love grass.
but you like
grass
fishing
means
it.
big bags. You got to get those big.
I've caught some big ass fish, largemouth on largemouth lakes and on grass lakes, but not in the grass.
Me too. The biggest bag I've ever caught was not in grass, but you got those big hydrilla flats, and then you got that little bit of milfoil, and it's just life just blooming from like there's like shoot from like this little area right here of just milfoil and bluegills, and there's largemouth, and you're like
Well, it attracts
that right there.
Well, it attracts the bait fish. Absolutely. What about you? Before I go to the next question, Ryan,
Chef's got this dial.
Milfoil's hard to beat.
Yeah.
you like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Milfoil for me is hard to beat. Milfoil and hydrilla. When you find both of them mixed together.
I know, literally. I was on Chick, and I'd never fished like really much grass before, and I just see like this other grass growing out of these big hydrilla flats. And like I was saying, I mean, it's just life. Like I was finding nothing, and then it's just life.
Life.
I hate pads.
Really? I like
I'll
it.
fish pads, but I dislike them.
On Seminole. I got what's that little pass through between Spring Creek and the Flint where you get to like get on plane and get through. I love that place, but I went into one of those little backwaters with all the pads. That was fun. I was throwing
Fun.
buzzbait through that, and they have those little like what are those little like pickerel looking things? I know they call them like jackfish or whatever down there.
Jackfish.
Yeah.
Fish.
That's awesome. You
And don't
chuck
laugh.
this.
That is, if you know how to cook those,
Really?
that is one of the best fish in the state of Georgia
Really?
to eat.
Really?
I can
It is.
catch them. If anybody
Now,
wants to, I can catch
Pickerel
the
in
heck out
general?
of them.
You- So like, because I know we got some of these smaller lakes up north have a few in there like
No,
that.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking. Yay
The-
big.
The
Don't-
smaller ones, yeah.
Don't get into the yeah. Oh, they're if you know how to cook them. Oh, they're good.
Ron
Yeah.
says water willow.
Whew. Pull up that question right above Brian too. After we talk, yeah, I'm just curious. I'm going to read it again. I kind of caught it. Hooch question: I fish a certain spot on the Chattahoochee. I understand no live bait, but aren't the fish (parentheses stripers) eating live bait that live in the water?
You must be fixing a section of the Chattahoochee right now where you cannot live bait.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yes, they are eating the live fish that are in the water.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You'd have to say what section. In
Mhm.
general, that's trout water.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was getting. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. Yeah, because if it's designated as
Yeah.
a trout
Regulations.
regulations, they kind of supersede everything.
Sing-
Do
DNR has that
not,
on LD
Yeah.
right now. until-
Single hooks,
Yeah.
no bars, and some of these
do
areas,
not
stuff
use
like
live
that.
bait.
And they'll also do that to help slow down the introduction of
True.
species of which they don't want.
Very
to
good.
Bluebacks.
No blueback.
Bluebacks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a very good point because a lot of people, let's just be honest. I've actually done it back in the day when I fished with a lot of live bait. You're on a farm pond, whatever, and you got 6 or 7 minnows left. You just kind of dump it.
Right.
I hate to say I'm guilty of it, but I'd be lying
And
if
then
I
you end
if I-
up with a pond full of shiners and one
You
like,
do.
where you
You-
can't catch any bluegill.
You do, and so I mean, I'm wrong. I was wrong doing it, but I just have to be honest and admit that I'm sure a lot of people just don't think about that. It's we got 6 or 7 left, like I did, just dump them.
Same people that flush the goldfish down the toilet because they're tired of dealing with it. Then you end up with, I mean, it's
With the
just
koi.
It was a big
Koi.
boy and
that's
stuff
how
like
you end
that.
up. I mean, you
There's-
go down to Florida, and that's how you have iguanas falling out of trees. 'Cause, people get where they don't
Yeah.
like their iguanas.
That's-
They turn them loose. And,
Listen, that's one of the craziest things I have
it's like
ever heard. Having an
falling iguanas.
iguana freeze warning.
Yeah.
Seriously,
iguanas
no-
falling iguanas. Be careful.
Now, I've actually heard those are pretty good, Deed, if you know how to cook them.
Yeah.
Only Florida.
Well, no, South Georgia now's
Florida, man.
got some lizard running around that's like the size of
Yeah.
a small dog.
And it eats freaking
Really?
turkey eggs
Yeah.
and stuff like
It's
that.
literally like
Yeah.
the size. I mean, they
Are
get up
you
to like
serious?
80
It's
or
like
90
this
pounds.
big.
It's like a miniature alligator.
Yeah.
In
That's
South
crazy.
Georgia.
Yes.
What's
Oh.
it called? I mean, anybody got an idea?
It's a tegu.
Tegu.
Yeah, I know what those are. I know.
A tegu.
Where are
I
those?
have not heard about
Are those from
this.
Australia? It's gotta
I
be.
think they're from
I don't know. but
South
they-
America.
South
There's
America.
some
Yeah.
biologists right now that they're seriously sweating some bullets about
These things.
getting these things under control.
Yeah.
Now, you
That
combine
bad?
you combine them with because they haven't blown up yet,
Mhm.
but they're like if these things take foot, we're going to be. in
God, I
trouble.
can imagine deer hunting
Apparently-
one of those things.
Apparently,
Between them and the
apparently
hogs.
where they're
Yeah.
from in South America, apparently their favorite thing to do is raid bird at bird nests.
And that's terrible for turkeys.
And that's terrible for turkeys and pheasants and
Yeah, you're
whatever else the hell's
Just-
flying around South Georgia.
Ground dwelling birds.
Iguana tastes like frog leg meat. I love some frog legs.
Uh-oh.
I love some-
Kurt,
I
yeah,
do.
being from Florida,
Of course from Florida.
of course he-
Hey man, look at
he
this.
figures.
Let's cook it.
That's- but
Never
you-
seen one of these before. Let's cook it.
They're from Argentina.
Okay.
Between
That's
Ron and Beasley tonight, we've got a Wikipedia going. This
We
is
Oh
miss-
my
awesome.
God.
we
I'm
miss
not this
Ron.
one.
I
We
miss
miss
Ron. We
Ron.
are so glad that he fished a couple times, but he was down sick. So
Yeah.
we do miss you.
I shouted him out today. I said, "Want to check, make sure you're doing okay," because we missed him.
Now, what are those lizards called again? Because I'm gonna look that up.
Tegus.
Tegus. And so I guess you could buy them at one time in the pet store, and people just start releasing them. Or
Yep.
Yeah, basically. I
Let me
mean,
show you what
that's
it
how.
pull up
You
a
know,
tegu.
I mean, if you think about it, that's how every invasive species has shown up is good old mankind trying to do something that you think is good and never. And,
It's them right
you know,
there.
20
Let's
years
see that.
later,
They
you're
look
like,
like
Looks like a
freaking-
monitor
Yeah,
lizard.
They look like freaking.
maybe that wasn't a
They're
good
like
idea.
a cousin of like the monitor.
It looks
lizard.
like a
Let me see
smaller
that.
it's
monitor
like a
lizard.
Komodo dragon almost.
Yeah,
Cut-
that
well,
kudzu
kudzu,
didn't
yeah,
work out
kudzu.
real well.
Kudzu.
Exactly right.
Didn't work out very
Pigs,
well either.
wild
Pigs.
pigs.
The only thing that I've seen that has moved into North Georgia, and I know we're not talking fishing, but it's interesting, and I've only started seeing them in the last 5 years. Is
Don't
armadillos.
say, I was about to say, don't say
Oh.
Black Panthers.
No, I don't know.
They've made it way past Georgia.
Right,
Yeah,
but you
they're
know,
way-
Yeah,
fi-
they're,
listen,
they're up. I've seen them. I started seeing them in Kentucky about 5 years ago.
seriously, the only time I ever saw an armadillo was if I was hunting in South Georgia.
Yeah.
Never saw them up here. Now that
Yeah,
I mean, even
everywhere.
over by Latham, they're in the road. People hit them and over the
Yeah.
possums.
They're
It's-
all the way. They're up into northern western Kentucky, and I think they're even in southern Missouri now.
I think
Really?
so too. I
Possum
think
on a
you're
half
right.
shell.
That's crazy.
They're
Iguanas carry a lot of diseases. I have
I
no
wouldn't be
doubt,
surprised.
no doubt about that.
This-
But other than armadillos, pretty much, what's that fish that people have been catching like around Gwinnett and stuff that looks like a bowfin, but is it
Snakefish.
snakehead?
Snakehead. Wait,
Yeah.
they've been snakeheads up here?
Allegedly,
Allegedly.
Because the bowfin should be, they're native.
they're native to South Georgia.
we had to eat anything.
Absolutely right. I will
I'm
too.
pretty sure Harmon will eat anything too if he's working on.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
we fished your dock. Sorry.
I
Possum
don't
on a
fish there
half
anymore.
shell.
That's the biggest community hole on the lake now.
Yeah, well, we were looking for what's that fish's name?
Went by there looking for Henrietta.
We were looking for
Yeah.
Henrietta, the Lake Mystery.
Can't go
Large
back
mouth.
there without people being back there. I'm like, man, I used to catch big
Um,
ones back here.
I've seen armadillos in Hopkinsville, Kentucky,
Yeah.
which
Yes.
is,
It's weird. Why are there those times a year where you just see them? Like they're just everywhere. Like
snakeheads taste amazing.
really.
We need to find. I wonder if there's like a. Gosh, this is going to sound bad.
Florida.
If we can go like to a foreign grocery store or something like that and
Yeah.
get some of that. Can you do that and like
Yeah.
get snakehead meat and
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
how
that?
they ended up in America.
Let's do that and let's have a taste test. Let's cook a bunch of that stuff up. Have a show where we just
We
taste
get
exotic
Yeah.
iguana and
'Cause
stuff like that.
Aren't snakehead what like South Asia?
I have
believe
no
so. I
idea.
believe so.
There may or may not be a critter cookout going on in Dahlonega here
Critter cook.
on the 29th.
It always sounds like a fun thing.
What is it? What am I missing here?
No, there's
Oh my God.
the Mountain Ranger Association does a critter cookout for all of its members, and everybody brings in
For the
whatever
armadillo.
random critters they have in their freezer,
Oh yeah, we
and they cook up a little bit.
we
of
Baptists call that wild game. Wild game dinner.
These guys get. I mean, they pull out some.
May meetings.
They
May
pull out
meetings.
some wild stuff too.
I would eat that. Armadillos explode if you shoot them with a high-powered rifle.
I don't
So do
know
turtles.
about it.
I'm serious. The first gun I ever had was a 22,
Mm.
and my dad bought it for the sole purpose to shoot turtles off. He wanted to get the lake rid of the turtles and all that because he
Yeah.
said they were eating fish and
You'll
all
never do it.
that. You won't.
You can try it.
But if you hit it right with a hollow point 22, them jokers will just absolutely blow up. I know if there's an animal rights activist watching this later on,
We're
And
Uh,
demonetized.
we're demonetized right
Yeah.
there. So PETA, you know what I
There-
mean?
There's one dude.
We
were
call it supper, Danny. Would you eat a possum? I have seen it cooked and
Only if it's
dressed.
the meat gristle.
All right, how about you? Would you eat a possum?
I probably have. I'm not even knowing it. I mean, I've eaten.
Because I can
Yeah,
get a
I
lot of
didn't
them.
think
We can
about it.
cook one of them up. They're on my back porch.
Only thing I
I've
ate.
heard they're pretty good if you feed them out, catch them live, and feed them out on sweet potatoes for about 2 weeks.
There's your Fish North Georgia tip of the week.
Tip of the
If
week.
you're interested in eating possum, catch it, feed it out with sweet potatoes for a couple weeks, and then barbecue that joker.
So I've been told.
So you've been told.
So-
Would you do that, Ryan? If we did it, if we had a show,
I've ate squirrel, not knowing.
squirrel, everybody's
That's
eating
normal.
squirrel. Good Lord.
You ever had donkey?
I ain't eaten like anything.
You haven't eaten squirrel?
No, I haven't
You
really
ate
eaten
donkey?
anything.
Oh, yeah.
My family.
Josh is a horse.
Josh ate raw horse in Japan. It's a
Uh-oh.
delicacy there.
Uh-oh.
Raw horse and raw chicken.
That's gonna be forever
No.
synonymous with Josh.
Josh
Josh ate raw horse one time.
He did. He went over there to a Japanese restaurant. He's got the picture of the plate. It is this beautiful pink steak. I mean, what they do though, they feed the horse a special diet, but they serve it raw. He said it was actually really good. Who was talking about eating spiders the other day?
Barbecue goat is
Barbecue goat. I
good.
would
It's
eat
very-
that.
It is very good when it's done right.
A possum is too greasy. Brian would know.
Oh,
I bet Brian has eaten a possum a time or two in his life. I love Brian.
Same
Same with raccoon. Do you know that Bo Jackson for
Taco Thursday will make things blow up too.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's true, too.
So I have heard.
But Bo Jackson every Thanksgiving, and I think it's a cultural thing, but they don't do turkey. They eat raccoon every single Thanksgiving. Bo Jackson, he talks about it. I've seen him do several.
Bo knows.
Bo knows they will
Oh,
go
yeah.
out and get raccoon, and that's what they might have turkey too, but they have a raccoon every Thanksgiving. We can get some of those too. Would you eat it, Ryan? No.
No,
Why? You know
You've
that
never eaten raccoon?
no.
this man eats the boringest sandwich in the history of the entire world. We go up here to the deli and get a sandwich. He
He
gets.
probably doesn't like mayo.
He doesn't. Ham,
Of
turkey,
course he
cheese,
doesn't. One
nothing.
of those kids.
Nothing else on white bread every single time. You take him to Zaxby's or Subway or anywhere. Nothing. He gets nothing. He eats plain everything.
Mayo's nasty. One of those kids.
We're gonna do that, Paul. Let's make that happen. We're gonna have a wild game episode where we'll get some.
I want to. I haven't eaten anything.
I'll go
cool
to a
ever.
market. We'll get some funky fish, and then we'll go shoot.
Fish.
We'll go shoot
Maybe
a couple
not.
things.
Maybe not.
Huh? Do you suck the heads out of a crawfish? Do you eat crawfish?
Overrated.
So you'll do that. It is overrated, but you will do that.
I will eat crawfish.
Raw oysters.
No, absolutely not.
I will mess up.
No, I don't do raw
Absolutely.
raw meats.
Raw meats, no. Especially
No sushi?
oysters.
No. fish is meant to be grilled, broiled, or fried.
I'll eat sushi. So I mean, like
One of the
that.
three.
How about mountain oysters?
I don't even
No,
know what that
I'll
is.
pass.
It's a nut.
That's right.
It's a bull nut. So anything, but we're gonna do that. Paul, can we set that up sometime? We'll do an event. We'll invite some people here and
We
just have
need
a
to find
big
some people that got this stuff.
Duke's mayo is the best. I do like Duke's, but I do like Blue Plate. Anyway, let's do this,
Is there a
guys. If you're
difference?
watching and you can provide us with some oddities, we'll invite you to come down here. We'll have a big cookout. We'll fix the cameras. We may take the cameras upstairs. We can get everybody on there, and we will try some crazy fish. And I'll eat a possum if it's done right.
Hmm.
They're nasty looking
I'm a-
critters. So
I'm a tall high school dude. If
a
you put
friend
food
lost
in
a
front of
leg
me-
eating raw oysters.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it
All right.
happens. So, all right, let's get back on the
You bring
fishing.
that on, buddy. That-
I'll eat hog tenderloin.
yeah, I'll mess that up.
Yeah, so we can do that. What's the
That's
craziest
butter
thing you've
bread.
ever eaten?
That I know that
Yeah.
I've eaten.
No. Oh,
Probably
gosh.
donkey.
You remember when I asked Sal that?
Yeah.
Oh,
He goes,
You know, Sal?
"Do you know Sal Peter?" He goes,
that was so
"Can I
out
say her name?"
so
And
out
I
of
went, "Oh, Sal."
so out
Sal,
of pocket.
no.
Oh, it's such
He's-
a-
listen,
such a
he-
hater.
He probably didn't
So
miss a
out of
beat.
It was like
He
getting
didn't.
punched right in the nose. It just come out so naturally, and I didn't expect it from Sal. And I think that might have been one of the few times on this show I was kind of like,
What?
You were speechless.
I didn't know
You
what
were
to say.
supposed to. It was amazing.
It was, and
Yeah.
I did not know what to say, but it was funny as hell. I will say that. But all right, but honestly, what did you say? I didn't even get your answer.
An old donkey.
An old donkey.
Oh, man.
And how was the donkey
How'd
prepared?
that happen? How did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happen?
Tell us how you
I don't
ate
know.
a donkey.
It was the dude in Afghanistan was cooking, and I'm pretty sure the donkey was his field animal that killed over dead. And the next thing I know, he's attempting to barbecue it, and it was rough, but it was what we had to eat that day. So that's what we ate.
So
So we ate donkey for a couple.
you ate donkey. Oh, listen, I'd probably try that Pinkston's nuts. Yes, I knew that
Uh-oh.
was coming up. Yeah, Michael Temples. I'm not even going to read that, but everybody can read that. So, yeah, no hesitation on Facebook users. He's got to be talking about Sal. So definitely.
It was perfect.
That was crazy. I did not expect that.
That definitely has to make the highlight reel when we do a best of.
The second of
What
silence.
about you, Mr. Boring? What is the craziest thing you've ever eaten?
Mr. Boring?
Other than the occasional spider that probably crawls in my mouth when I'm sleeping. And that's really about it.
Well, you got to remind us of that.
You live a sheltered life. What about you?
I don't really. I mean, I guess my weird neighbors, they're homeschooled, but they eat crickets all the time. They're
I
kind
eat crickets. I've
I've
eaten
had
crickets.
cricket.
Crickets are good.
Yeah, I mean,
Cricket's
I
different.
think every
It's kind of strange.
every
Really
Southern boy's eating a cricket at some
Yeah.
point in time out the cricket box.
No, but you can get them
No.
crunched with some ranch stuff. They got
Yeah,
some
dude.
seasoning and stuff.
These guys had like a whole like tray of them. I went over. I'm like, yeah, these kids are kind of weird. And they have like this tray of crickets, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, that's a survival food too. I mean, that's like a staple right
Oh,
there. It's
yeah,
high in
yeah.
protein. I ate night crawlers one time.
I've eaten those.
that's rough.
Oh,
That's rough.
Yeah, just put them in, but I was doing it to prove to a little football team, and I just pick it up, just sit it on my tongue, and just let it. I guess that's about the
Why,
weirdest.
why are you? What your football team's like? Hey, you won't do that.
Yes,
All right. Okay then.
chocolate covered crickets are good. Fried fish eyeballs.
Okay.
fried fish fins are.
I've had
those are
fins.
great.
I've had fins. You know, with
That's
bluegill.
the best part of a fish.
Yeah, bluegill. You
It's
know,
close.
the southern boys of bluegill. You're supposed to fry them up and eat the fins
Trout,
and
man, you get the tail.
I'll fillet fish and keep the tail,
Yeah.
just for the crispiness
and fry the tail up with the fillets.
I got
It's
you.
like a snack.
We did eat crawdads out of a creek one time.
Crawdads
You
out
got
of
up
the
early
creek.
this morning. I know you're tired
Yeah.
like that. So, would you eat fried fish eyeballs?
I mean, I don't see why not.
How about you, Ryan?
Absolutely not.
What can we get you?
Don't
to
tell
eat?
me what it is, and I'll be like, huh?
Fried, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
You
I mean,
fry
seriously,
anything.
Yeah, I fry
Yeah.
stuff all the
if they
time.
can fry a Twinkie. What would you? What can I get you to eat that you said you would never eat just one time on camera? What?
Nothing.
You suck.
I'm just saying, when you're working and you have 6 fryers at your disposal, and you're getting at that 4 or 5 hour mark where you're like, okay, I'm pretty bored. There's some stuff you can fry. You can fry some stuff. You have a breading table, and you have the milk wash. You got all the different coaters and breaders and everything you need, and you have fryers at your disposal. You'll figure something out.
Do you eat chicken livers, Ryan? That's a
No.
question. I love chicken livers.
Chicken liver pate.
Chicken liver is absolutely anything liver, liverwurst, all that good stuff. My great aunt used to fry brimtails, and we would eat them like potato chips.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, that's it. You couldn't. Yeah, you could
I remember as a kid, I would gnaw on any fin other than. I mean, I would sit there and if it was crispy, I'd gnaw on all of them. The little dorsal fins, the top of it, the back of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like a little beaver over there.
Rocky Mountain oysters, I have not had, but I would try. As long as they were fried, they were cooked right. I would try that.
Really?
So, all right. So anyway, we got a few minutes left. We were talking about what we were planning on doing here, and do you think a pattern will establish? You said basically right now it's up and down, up and down, up and down. What pattern do you expect?
Well, I mean, the water temp, we're knocking on the blue back door, so you're going to be the fluke pattern is coming very soon.
Yeah.
I mean, any day. I mean, I've caught a few fish on it.
Yeah.
I know some other guys that have caught some on it. It's not the thing, but it is
coming.
It's coming. The day of being able to. It hasn't happened yet for me, but I'm sure it's happened every other spring. So I'm sure it's just a matter of time of being able to put a drop shot and get your boat about 20 feet off the bank and go.
Yeah.
And just pitch it to the bank and pull it back.
Yeah, you like casting the drop shots.
And when that turns on, I mean, I expect that to kick in pretty much any day. And when you can get on that, I mean, it's a great numbers game.
Right. And you use a shorter tag.
I use a shorter tag.
And doing
4-inch worm.
I got you.
I mean, I've caught some fish doing it, but it hasn't been the thing. So I would not be surprised if that kicks in. And then the Carolina rig.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I have no confidence in.
Oh,
I need to throw it more. I haven't ever thrown it much.
That'll kick in and be pretty good here.
What do you put on the back of your Carolina rig? With that
a 4-inch lizard.
4-inch lizard.
4-inch lizard.
Okay, I got you. Works. So what about you, Beasley? What do you see coming
Or
up?
a dead ringer.
Or a dead ringer?
Probably spotted bass. Probably eating lures and things.
You went from intelligent to dumb again, all in one episode.
I'm kidding.
Ryan, check your phone.
When
do you start? When do y'all start spinnerbaits? Greg Everett wants to know.
It's been happening.
I caught some 2 on a spinnerbait this week.
Been throwing it since like February.
Yeah.
Ryan,
you can throw
Ryan's
spinnerbaits all year.
I'm not a huge spinner. I'll throw it during the herring spawn. It's really about, and then randomly on like super windy days when I can't throw anything else. When I just get
spinner
mad.
jig. Ain't nobody caught nothing on Lanier on no spinner jig in dang Bad Ridge Creek. Stupid. What? Sorry.
The hell was that?
Nothing. That's a little inside joke.
He's got a jab at me.
Inside joke. But I'm not inside of it. So we're like sitting there going. Our fish today were Texas rigged worm and a shaky head, which is interesting because we didn't get a bite on the shaky head hardly at all. Just a couple.
No, I mean you'll be able to catch worm on a fish on a Texas rig and a shaky head from now through yes, LJ jerk shad's coming. Caught a few on the old jerk shad yesterday and the day before. No. Not so much today though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we tried it too.
Yesterday and the day before though.
We tried to. All right, Ryan. Before I close this out, how about you? What do you see coming up?
Other than the other fun things, I'm ready
Other
for
fun things.
the brim spawn.
Ooh,
Brim spawn, and that is coming.
You have good luck on that on Lanier. I never
Yes.
really fish it much on Lanier. Spots, largemouth, both. All right.
Also, yes.
Also,
All right.
yes, everything's good.
The first 2 hours of the morning are
Really?
the best.
Oh,
Really?
wow. Listen. Okay.
For me anyway.
And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. I have one more question because I thought about it when I went
That's
to the
not
bathroom.
specific.
When we were talking about the blueback, the shad spawn and stuff like that, is that an all day thing or is that early morning, late evening?
Herring will spawn all day.
Yeah, you just need to go deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Just bring it back a little bit. I thought about that while I was out
You
there.
can
I'm like,
catch 'em in
Ryan's
those
talking about
areas.
grass, and this question pops up that I didn't
You
ask.
can catch them in the areas all day though.
Yes.
You may not catch them in the exact same area. Like you can't sit and make the exact same cast for 8 hours.
Right. But they're going to be in that
They
general
don't.
area.
They don't like.
Yeah, the fish don't pack up from the mouth of Bald Ridge and head over to the mouth of Young Deer.
The worst
Okay,
thing.
that's
The
okay.
worst thing. Probably shouldn't say this, but I will anyway, because we try to teach here at Fish North Georgia. The worst thing you can do is after the first hour or so, fishing a herring spawn or a shad spawn specifically a herring spawn more than shad spawn. But the worst thing you can do is go, well, it's over now. Let's go do something. Let's completely abandon that and go fish something completely different.
Okay.
Yeah, shad spawn's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Shad spawn peters out because the shad bait balls break up and they kind of
Yeah.
they.
But if the
it's a
herring
different
don't
thing.
leave where they're at, the fish don't leave.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Or when they come in and out throughout the day.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Makes sense. Perfect. That's a good little tidbit to end on. First of all, Jeff, thank you for coming down here today and being a part of the show, and we appreciate you giving a
thanks for
little
having me.
knowledge. Oh no, we love you. You're welcome anytime.
We were mid-lake.
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 Mid-lake. That's
One of
that's the
those
thing.
guys.
And Beazle, appreciate you and Paul for
Yeah.
all you do, and Ryan and everything like that. Guys, we're gonna end it right here with that. A lot of good information. Hope you guys can go out and target this and use some of what you heard tonight. I'm definitely going to try that. A lot of information. Share this around. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. And if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you give us a follow and stuff like that. We will be back next week with another edition of the Live Well. Until then, it's going to be good weather. I'm not going to get the fish this weekend. I'm going to be doing a wedding out at Fort Yargo for Mario with Your Outdoor Adventures. He's on here every once in a while like that. So be my first one. It'd be exciting, something new for me. But for those of you that get out and fish, you guys have a great time. Enjoy it. Be safe and be respectful out there. We'll see you next week.